Chapter 999. Men summon the guards of the main hall. Wuxia clenched her teeth. The young master's attire on her body was burned to ashes. Her expression became extremely ferocious. She looked at the maids and said, "My darlings, enter the inner court. Your husband is here to take care of some matters." The maids left one after another. At the same time, more and more guards of the Golden Dragon domain appeared. There were many God State experts among them, but they were much weaker than Lin Muyu and the others. The leader of the knights was a sensible person. He said hurriedly, "Young master, don't be so agitated. I think the Feng domain lord came here with good intentions. Why don't we wait for the domain lord to come and decide?" Good intentions. Wuxia still felt the burning pain on his face. His eyes were full of resentment. He said, "Feng Zhanlin, don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Golden Dragon domain just because you are a senior. This is my territory. You are nothing here." Feng Zhanlin crossed his arms in front of his chest and said indifferently, "Is that so? Well, I was seriously injured in the battle with Dongfang Yan a day ago. Now I can only use less than half of my strength. Since you are also an emperor god, why don't we have a fight? You really have no sense of shame." Wuxia sneered. "A dignified 84th stage paradise god emperor dares to provoke me. A young junior who has just entered the god emperor realm. Feng Zhanlin, you have disgraced the entire Spirit Sparrow region." Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but laugh. "What do you want to do?" Wuxia's eyes were cold. "Nothing. When the people of the Golden Dragon domain arrive, we will deal with you according to the rules of the Golden Dragon domain. You, Feng Zhanlin, trespassed into the garden without permission. My father will not kill you because of your friendship. Then I will kill your subordinates as a warning to others." Wuxia's eyes swept across Feng Zhanhai, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and the others. When he saw Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan, he couldn't take his eyes off them. "Who are they?" Wuxia asked. The leader of the knights said hurriedly, "They came with the Wind Region Lord. It was this young man who said he wanted to save the prisoners' lives and was willing to compensate. Young Region Lord, this was originally a misunderstanding. Please don't be angry, lest the relationship between the two regions is damaged. It's none of your business. Scram." Wuxia's expression was quite ferocious. She looked deeply at Lin Muyu and asked, "What's your name?" Lin Muyu greets the young domain lord. Lin Muyu's smile was extremely lazy. It was obvious that she did not take this young domain lord seriously at all. Her gaze and tone made it seem as if she was looking at a true rookie. "Who are the three of them?" Wuxia pointed at Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Shi Yan. "Oh." Lin Muyu knew that he was a lecher. She put an arm around Qin Yin's shoulder and said, "This is my wife. The one beside her is also my wife. The other one is my sister-in-law." Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi immediately blushed. This was the first time that Lin Muyu publicly acknowledged the relationship between the three of them. They were happy but also angry. They did not know what to say. Shi Yan, on the other hand, was very calm. She silently wondered what the heck was a sister-in-law. Wuxia, on the other hand, was angry and resentful. She said, "Lin Muyu, you want to protect the lives of those lowly people?" "Yes." "Haha." Wuxia sneered and said, "They broke my moonlight goblet. This moonlight goblet is priceless. I bought it with 700,000 gold ingots. How are you going to compensate me?" "That's easy." Lin Muyu fumbled in her qianquan pouch and found a familiar handle. She pulled it out. It was indeed the Thunder God hammer. She threw it out immediately. Bang! The war hammer smashed into the jade stairs, causing a cloud of dust to fly out. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Is this compensation enough?" "This is..." Wuxia was stunned. The Thunder God hammer, the weapon of the ancient Thunder God. It is one of the supreme artifacts of the ancient times. Is this enough to compensate for your moonlight goblet? Even 10 moonlight goblets should be enough. Wuxia narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Nothing. In your words, I am using this to buy the lives of those lowly people." Before Lin Muyu's voice died away, a majestic voice suddenly came from the sky. "Who is so arrogant to buy the lives of the people of the Golden Dragon territory?" An old voice slowly fell beside Wuxia. It was the territory lord of the Golden Dragon territory, Wu Feng. Feng Zhanlin immediately cupped his fists. Feng Zhanlin pays respect to the old territory lord. Wu Feng also nodded. Lord Feng, we haven't seen each other for many years. I didn't expect to meet you here. Yes. At least 100 God State warriors of the Golden Dragon territory appeared and surrounded Feng Zhanlin, Lin Muyu, and the others. They all looked at them covetously. Father. Wu Su's face was still red and swollen. He said, "It is this guy named Lin Muyu who brought people here to make trouble. He even took out a hammer and smashed my jade stairs." A hammer? Wu Feng's expression changed when he saw the Thunder God hammer. It's a divine artifact. That's right. Lin Muyu nodded. At this time, Feng Zhanlin said respectfully, "Old territory lord, this time I brought my people here not to make trouble, but to make friends with the Golden Dragon territory. I think you know what happened yesterday. The Raging Fire territory started a war with the Sparrow territory. They were defeated yesterday and Dongfang Yan was injured, but they will definitely come back. The Raging Fire territory has always bullied our two territories, and we have been bullied for so many years. Therefore, this time I came here to unite the two territories and fight against the Raging Fire territory together." Unite? Wu Feng stroked his beard, and a gleam of light shot out from his aged eyes. "We, the Golden Dragon realm, have our own rules. Everything is a separate matter, and everything should be in order. Lord Feng, you and this guy named Lin Muyu came to Wu Su's garden to make trouble. Is this true?" Feng Zhanlin's face darkened. "Yes, it's true." Wu Feng looked at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Lin Muyu, who are you? How can you be so reckless? Is the Golden Dragon Palace a place where you can break into at will? The Golden Dragon territory has its own rules. You protect these lowly people and make an enemy of the Golden Dragon Palace. Is this how you come to the Golden Dragon territory to discuss an alliance? I have lived for so many years, and the affairs of the 64 territories are getting more and more interesting." Lin Muyu also laughed heartily. "What are you laughing at?" Wu Feng said coldly. Lin Muyu put the Xianyuan sword and its scabbard on the ground and said with an awe-inspiring aura, "I'm laughing at how the Golden Dragon territory is a good place to look at the sky from the bottom of a well. A group of God State overlords hide in the well and enjoy their lives, but ignore the bullying and insults of the Raging Fire territory. They only know how to abuse the mortals. No wonder the Golden Dragon territory has always been the weakest among the 64 territories. You don't even dare to challenge the experts. What kind of divine territory is this? It's like a dry well that is about to die." "What did you say?" Many God State overlords in the crowd retorted. However, when Lin Muyu looked at them calmly, she realized that more than half of the godly state experts looked ashamed. Her words had hit the nail on the head, and it had undoubtedly pierced the most painful part of their hearts. But Wu Feng narrowed his eyes and said, "Good, you have guts. What a battle of words. Domain Lord Feng, are you here to discuss an alliance with our Golden Dragon realm with such a despicable man who only knows how to talk nonsense?" Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly and said, "With all due respect, if the Region Lord thinks that he is an arrogant person, then the old Region Lord is really blind." "Feng Zhanlin, what do you mean?" Wu Su was furious and pointed at Feng Zhanlin and said, "What else does this Lin Muyu have other than arrogant words? He is just a piece of trash who plays to the gallery and seduces women." Wu Su had already probed Lin Muyu with his divine power, but what he found was like a silent ancient well. Her strength was at most at the hierarch realm, which was why Wu Su dared to say such a thing. Trash. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. "Young Region Lord, take out your weapon. I want to tell the whole Golden Dragon territory who is the real trash." "You want to challenge me?" Wu Su seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. "That's right. What about the bet? Young Region Lord has the final say." "Very well." Wu Su sneered. "If you lose, the 3 women behind you will all become my concubines. How about that?" Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were furious, but Shi Yan grabbed their hands and did not say anything. "Very well." Lin Muyu's words were shocking. "However, if I win, you must commit suicide to apologize to all the innocent people who died in your hands. How about that?" "Commit suicide to apologize?" Wu Su was shocked. You want to bet my life? Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi with gentle eyes. They are more important to me than my life. If you take them away, isn't that the same as betting your life with me? Interesting, ha ha ha. Then let's bet your life. Wu Su's face was full of greed and insolence as he roared. Someone bring me my universe saber. Wu Feng's face was livid. Wu Su, are you crazy? Do you know how strong this person is? He dares to bet his life? Father, I will take care of my own business. Don't ask. You. Wu Feng was so angry that his entire body trembled, but there was nothing he could do. He was the one who spoiled his son. A few minutes later, a saber was carried over by 2 servants. It was at least a substandard artifact, just right. Only this kind of weapon was worthy of being the Xianyuan sword's opponent. Clang, Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. At this moment, Wu Feng's face was full of shock, but it was too late to say anything. When Lin Muyu began to increase her divine power, and the surface of her body overflowed with waves of 60 levels of heavenly insight divine power, Wu Su's face was full of shock. Lin Muyu's cultivation level was the same as his, but the strength of her divine power was at least 70% stronger. Chapter 1000. This Qiankuan saber is made of cold iron from ancient times. After 3 years of refinement by a divine craftsman, its blade is sharp and indestructible. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber with a cold look in her eyes. Lin Muyu, don't blame me for not warning you if your head gets chopped off by the heaven and earth saber. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She pointed the Xianyuan sword at her opponent. My sword is the Xianyuan sword. These simple words stunned Wu Feng, Wu Su, and countless experts of the Golden Dragon territory, who hadn't heard of the Xianyuan sword. It was an ancient divine weapon that had been fought over by the 64 territories for tens of thousands of years. It was the sword of the way of the king, and it was irreplaceable. In an instant, everyone's view of Lin Muyu changed. Someone who could have the Xianyuan sword must not be a nobody. The 2 divine artifacts produced different clanging sounds. Before they even came into contact, their auras had already begun to compete. Wu Su was the first to attack with a shout. The cosmic saber was instantly enveloped in flames. His body suddenly rose into the air, and then fell down. He was so fast that it was as if he had built an arch bridge of flames in the garden. As an expert of the God-Emperor realm, it was impossible to be weak without some skills. Although Wu Su was addicted to wine and women, he didn't completely neglect his cultivation. This powerful strike had shocked and worried the experts of the Sparrow territory brought by Feng Zhanlin. However, in Lin Muyu's opinion, Wu Su's ferocious attack was nothing like that. In terms of strength, Wu Su's attack was worthy of the cultivation of a god arch. However, in terms of speed, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. A true god Thearcha's speed should not be this slow. Since Wu Su was so slow, he must have a backup plan. He rushed forward and unleashed half of his Xianyuan sword's divine power. He swung it at the Cosmos saber. Boom! The flames and the power of stars collided in the air. Sure enough, Wu Su's strike was fake. After landing, he kicked out with a powerful force on the tip of his foot. If he was hit by this kick, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. The quick attack was a feint. The real killing move was the kick from behind. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was prepared for this. She did not look down on this foppish playboy. She stomped on the ground with her battle boots and jumped up. At the same time, she dodged the kick with her long sword. The stardust on the blade of the sword surged and condensed into a mountain rock. It was the 5 mountains descending from the heavens of the stars arts. Moreover, the mysterious energy of the invisible elephant spell was activated, which doubled the power of the 5 mountains descending from the heavens. What? Wu Su was stunned. He never thought that Lin Muyu could not only dodge his sure-kill attack, but also counterattack so quickly. Moreover, the speed and strength of her counterattack were superior. He quickly raised his wrist and used the Qiankuan saber to block Lin Muyu's attack. Pung. Finally, the 2 divine weapons collided heavily. The power of Lin Muyu's attack was so powerful that Wu Su's hands were numb. His feet also broke the stone floor and sank into the gravel. The airflow blown out by the sword suddenly swept out, forcing the onlookers to use their arms to block the impact of the powerful Gang Qi. Good fight! Wusu roared angrily. He brandished his saber with both arms and slashed at Lin Muyu, who was in the air. The Qianquan saber transformed into the 8 trigrams constellation. Strands of righteous force wrapped around Lin Muyu like a net. It looked like an impenetrable defense. The defensive martial art of the Law of Fire in the Golden Dragon domain was really not simple. Feng Zhanlin, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, could not help but nod his head in approval. No wonder the Golden Dragon domain was able to survive among the 64 domains despite being so weak. One could see how powerful this martial technique was. Wusu was already so powerful when using the Wu clan's martial technique. If his father Wu Feng were to use it, how powerful would he be? In the face of Wusu's perfect defense, Lin Muyu was not in a hurry. He knew this kind of defense, which was similar to the 8 trigrams formation, very well. He knew it when he set up the 8 trigrams formation during the battle with the Devil Tribe. Now Wusu's martial art was only scratching the surface of the Yin and Yang Taishu. The so-called Yin and Yang of the 8 trigrams were endless, strong and weak alternating, and the moment of alternating was the greatest weakness. Seeing the opportunity, Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword with both hands and stabbed down. Swish! The sword edge was covered with flames. The spiritual power of heaven and earth rushed in from all directions, and the space was instantly distorted. It was the 5 elements 8 waste destruction. Wusu already knew something was wrong when Lin Muyu made the move. It was as if his weakness was completely exposed to the opponent's attack, and everything about him was completely seen through. Pung! The heaven and earth saber was violently surging, and Wusu immediately felt something sweet in his throat. He almost vomited blood, and the saber in his hand hung down as if it didn't listen to his command. He took a few steps back and hit the stone pillar of the pavilion behind him. But Lin Muyu's attack was more than one sword. The cold wind came, and this time it was the Law of Ice. The Xianyuan sword was surrounded by ice light, and it swept toward Wusu's throat in an arc. Wusu could only scream. The heaven and earth saber was shaken off by the Xianyuan sword with a clang, and Wusu broke the pillar. The whole pavilion collapsed in an instant. He still wanted to go, so he stepped on the ground and jumped up. However, Lin Muyu had already descended from the sky. With a pung sound, her combat boot landed heavily on Wusu's shoulder. There was a faint sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Wusu spat out a mouthful of blood as he tumbled to the side of the lotus pond. Before he could stand up, Lin Muyu had already swept over and stomped heavily on his chest with her combat boot. Cough, cough, cough. Wusu was seriously injured, and he coughed violently. How many years have you been cultivating till now? Lin Muyu's clear eyes were filled with arrogance as she looked down at Wusu from above. Everyone else was stunned, but no one stepped forward to stop them. This was a contest between 2 God Emperor realm experts, and according to the rules of the 64 regions, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Wusu coughed a few more times and said with bloodshot eyes, "More than 300 years. That's all you've got after 300 years? Lin Muyu's face was full of disdain, and she said, "I've cultivated for a total of 12 years, from nothing to stepping into the God Emperor realm. Now tell me, who's the trash between the 2 of us?" I'm trash. Wusu's body trembled, and blood and tears flowed from his eyes. Young Region Lord. Not far away a large man shouted, "You can't admit defeat. How can our Golden Dragon region bear such humiliation?" "Shut up," Wu Fengfeng shouted. Lin Muyu looked at Wusu and said indifferently, "You're too greedy for wine and women, so you didn't focus on cultivation. With just the 2 of you, the Golden Dragon region will only become weaker and weaker, and eventually be devoured by the Raging Fire region." As she spoke, Lin Muyu took a step back and removed her foot from Wusu's chest. She said, "All right, according to our previous agreement, if I lose I'll pay with my wife. If you lose, you'll pay with your life. Young Region Lord, you can kill yourself now." Lin Muyu suddenly opened her left hand and snatched a guard sword from him, and threw it straight in front of Wusu. "No, absolutely not." Wu Feng's old face was full of anger, and he said, How can life and death be treated as child's play? I only have one son, and I can't let him die like this. Lin Muyu Feng Zhanlin, what do you want? Feng Zhanlin touched his nose and said with a smile, Old Region Lord, we've already said that we're only here to seek cooperation. Only when the Sparrow Domain and the Golden Dragon region join forces can we resist the powerful Raging Fire region. Let's join forces then. Wu Feng was disappointed. Great. I'll use all the resources of the Golden Dragon region to fight the Raging Fire region with you. Really? Old Region Lord? Feng Zhanlin was pleasantly surprised. What else? What else can we do? No, I don't agree. Before Wu Feng's voice died away, Lin Muyu said clearly, At first we wanted to join forces, but young Region Lord Wu Su was so aggressive that I changed my mind. Now we're not joining forces but merging. The Golden Dragon region will join the Sparrow Domain and become a part of it. From now on there will be no more Golden Dragon region. What did you say? Blue veins popped out on Wu Feng's face. Lin Muyu, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to say that you want to annex the Golden Dragon region? This is for the good of the Golden Dragon region. Lin Muyu looked at the group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region and said in a clear voice, Wu Feng is old and muddle-headed, and Wu Su is rebellious and ignorant. Do you think that these two can revitalize the Golden Dragon region? I think the Golden Dragon region will be destroyed in less than 10 years. On the other hand, the region lord of the Sparrow Domain, Feng Zhanlin, is superior in both cultivation and strength. He treats people with kindness. This is not annexing the Golden Dragon region, but finding a better home for the people of the Golden Dragon region. The crowd fell silent. Although the group of God-state warriors did not speak, their expressions showed that they were a little shaken. After all, most of them knew Wu Feng and his son very well. Just this alone was enough to disappoint the people of the Golden Dragon region. Now, with the amazing strength displayed by Lin Muyu, and the superb speech from a foreign land, and the sword of the king as proof, the hearts of the people of the Golden Dragon region were naturally swayed. Feng Zhanlin was a man of action. At this time, he stepped forward and said respectfully, The former region lord is a senior, and I, Feng Zhanlin, am just a junior. I respect the former region lord, but the Golden Dragon region cannot be so decadent. This will only bring disaster to the gods of the Golden Dragon region. Therefore, I, Feng Zhanlin, would like to invite the heroes of the Golden Dragon region to join the Sparrow Domain and fight against the strong together. Since ancient times, we are weak when we are divided, and we are strong when we are united. When the Sparrow Domain sweeps over the prehistoric mystery land, we will raise our cups together and share the prosperity. The group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region was even more moved. Wu Su's face was livid. He did not commit suicide, but pointed at the group of people and scolded, You traitors! My Wu family has given you glory and wealth, but now you have the heart to betray us. You are not worthy of being gods. Lin Muyu could not help but snicker. Wu Su had lived for more than 300 years, but his mind was like that of a 3-year-old child. His scolding made the people of the Sparrow Domain even more loyal to the humble people. Stupid, extremely stupid. Chapter 1001. Wu Su, why haven't you killed yourself? Are you waiting for me to help you? The fire cyclone around Lin Muyu flowed back, and the spirit beads of law were about to break out of her body. Everyone in the Golden Dragon Domain was dumbfounded. At this time, they were even more certain that Lin Muyu's strength was extraordinary. Judging from the number of spirit beads of law, she was at least at the Master God level, maybe even higher. A sovereign spark. Everyone knew exactly what that signified. The Northern Heaven Realm's godly King Dongming relied on the Frost Law's Lord God latent deity to create an everlasting great cause. Until now, he had stood tall in the Northern Heaven Realm without collapsing. On the other hand, the Purple Jade Fairy relied on the Life Law's Lord God latent deity to be able to move unhindered across 64 domains and destroy 2 domains in a row. Therefore, smart people had to have a vision for development when choosing masters to follow. Following a master god was much better than following a pair of unknown father and son. In the crowd, a red-haired girl raised her hand and smiled. I, Luo Xintian of the Nanshan tribe, am willing to join the Sparrow Domain and follow Lady Lin Muyu from now on. Lin Muyu turned around and saw Luo Xintian wearing a red skirt. She looked youthful and lively, at most 17 or 18 years old, but her strength was somewhat frightening. Between her breathing, there were 62 waves of divine power. This was a freak of the God Emperor realm. Therefore, she cupped her fists in the Shattered Cauldron realm's military salute. Thank you, young lady. Come over here. Yes. Luo Xintian leaped and landed beside Lin Muyu in the next moment. A faint fragrance of a young girl wafted from her body. Thank you for your support, young lady. Lin Muyu smiled in a low voice. Don't mention it. I like you. You are handsome, powerful, far-sighted, and knowledgeable. Naturally, you are much better than that father and son. With that, Luo Xintian stared into the distance. Big stupid cow, aren't you coming over? Coming. A huge and sturdy young man leaped up and landed right next to Luo Xintian. He rubbed her head, smiled and said, Xintian, you're the descendant of the South Mountain tribe. Do you really want to join the Spirit Sparrow region? How could it be fake? Luo Xintian put her hands behind her back and said to Lin Muyu with a smile, Madam, this stupid bull is called Niugang. Although he is only a 55th heavenly grotto heaven godly king, he was born with brute force. Even I am no match for him. He is the strongest bull in our tribe. I am willing to work for you. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Thank you, Niugang. There's no need to be so polite, my lord. Niugang scratched his head and actually looked very embarrassed, causing Lin Muyu to curse in her heart. He was too straightforward. As a result, Wuxia, who was sitting on the ground, turned pale. Luo Xintian, are you crazy? Have you ever thought about the future of the Nanshan tribe by betraying the Golden Dragon domain so openly? Why? Does the young lord want to take revenge on the Nanshan tribe? Luo Xintian smiled faintly. Her pure and flawless eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent. She said, If I remember correctly, you should have already committed suicide to apologize, right? Madam Lin Muyu, kill him, he is threatening me. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin said loudly. The Sparrow region respects the wise and lowly. As long as you join the Sparrow region, you will be ranked according to strength and contribution. Is there anyone else who is willing to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? More people in the crowd responded. Soon, more than half of the God State overlords that Wu Feng brought with him were on Feng Zhanlin's side. The rest were also hesitating. Clang. The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed again. Lin Muyu flew forward and pressed the sword against Wusu's neck. The sword instantly pierced through the wall and blood oozed out. She asked indifferently, Do you really want me to help you? No. Wusu's face turned pale. He shook his head repeatedly. Don't kill me, I don't want to die. Wu Feng's voice was also trembling. Don't kill my son. I will agree to whatever you want. Feng Zhanlin was overjoyed and said, Then, may I be so bold as to ask you to bring your people to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? Join? Wu Feng looked dispirited. Let's join. No. Lin Muyu suddenly shook her head and said, I can spare Wusu's life, but you must take Wusu away from the Golden Dragon domain and the Sparrow region and promise me that you will never come back. Are you expelling me? Wu Feng said angrily. No, I am asking you to leave respectfully, Lin Muyu said sternly. The Golden Dragon domain needs a better master, don't you think so? Wu Feng trembled with anger. Feng Zhanlin frowned and went forward to ask in a low voice. Lin General, why do you want to expel them? Lin Muyu nodded and said, The father and son have been operating in the Golden Dragon domain for thousands of years. In fact, they are already well established. If we don't expel them, they will be a hidden danger after they join the Spirit Sparrow domain. When that time comes, Wu Feng will raise his arm and call for help, and the Spirit Sparrow domain will be reorganized. Therefore, we only want the people of the Golden Dragon domain, not the domain master. Feng Zhanlin was relieved and his face was full of respect. Lin Muyu was much more far-sighted and meticulous than him. No wonder the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor appointed him as the left marshal of the Eastern Heavenly Realm. Therefore, Feng Zhanlin changed his words and said, As long as you leave with Wuxia, I will send you 5,000 servants, as well as countless gold, silver, and jewelry. No matter where you go, you can continue to enjoy wealth. What do you think, old region master? Do I have any other choice? Wu Feng asked coldly. At the same time, the divine power in his body began to increase rapidly. His old face was a little distorted. You are forcing me. How could Golden Dragon Yu allow himself to be captured so easily? Are you guys dreaming? Wu Feng was about to make his move. But at this moment, an even more vigorous aura suddenly surged, forcibly suppressing Wu Feng's God Emperor domain. When everyone looked back, they saw a 6-winged seraph descending from the sky. Shi Yan held the Qihua sword in her hand like a goddess descending to the earth. Her eyebrows were full of arrogance and disdain. Wu Feng, who are you? How dare you be so arrogant? 6-winged seraph. Everyone in the divine realm knew about the strongest existence in the West. Wu Feng had seen the power of the seraph with his own eyes. Even the God Emperor of the 99th heaven was killed by the seraph in a few moves. Who was he? Perhaps this seraph had cursed so much that his old eyes were blurred, and he could no longer see clearly. Shi Yan's seraph transformation was completed in an instant, and ended in another instant. She returned to her gentle and dignified demeanor. So it's the seraph, the seraph. Wu Feng frowned and slowly knelt down. He said, I admit defeat. I, Wu Feng, admit defeat. I don't want anything. I'll leave with Wuxia. This golden dragon domain is yours. At this moment, a few godly state experts, including a God Emperor expert, rushed out and said loudly, Region Lord, wherever you go we will go. We will never regret it. No. You guys should stay here. Wu Feng said. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. No, they will go with you. There is no point in keeping them in the Spirit Sparrow domain. There was indeed no point in having the same goal but not the same goal. Wu Feng went forward to help the seriously injured Wuxia up. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. He flew out of the Golden Dragon Palace with a few godly state experts and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but burst into laughter. He opened his arms and said, Everyone listen to me. From now on, the Golden Dragon domain will officially join the Spirit Sparrow domain. You and I will follow the East Heaven Realm's left army Marshal Lin Muyu to fight against the strong enemies of the Raging Fire domain, and create a grand plan in the ancient mystery realm. Everyone applauded. Although many God-state strongmen used to live a good life in the Golden Dragon domain, and they had endless beauties and delicious food, it was obviously much better than the lifeless life in the past. Moreover, they had a new master, and this new master actually had another identity. Marshal of the Left Army of the Eastern Celestial Court, which made him even more worthy of loyalty. Lin Muyu said, Change all the signboards of the Golden Dragon domain to the Spirit Sparrow domain. The Golden Dragon Palace will be renamed to the Spirit Sparrow Palace. From now on, this palace will be the headquarters of the Spirit Sparrow Palace. In addition, the original castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain is too small, and too close to the Raging Fire domain. It is easy to be attacked. Region Lord Feng, why don't you order all the people of the Spirit Sparrow domain to move here? The Golden Dragon domain castle is larger and more prosperous. Yes, Feng Zhanlin said without hesitation. I will do it immediately. In addition, will the spiritual orchard also be moved here? It would be best if it can be moved. I will do my best. Please rest assured, Lin General. Thank you for your hard work, Region Lord. Thus, Lin Muyu officially had a new foundation in the 64 domains. Although the Region Lord of the new Spirit Sparrow domain was Feng Zhanlin, everyone knew that the real master was actually Lin Muyu. He was the real number one. Moreover, the Spirit Sparrow Palace was indeed comfortable. It allowed Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan to live well and eat well. This was also one of Lin Muyu's great wishes. As a man, this was something he should do and was duty-bound to do. 3 days later, the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved to the new castle. Feng Zhanlin was also aware of the big picture. If the Golden Dragon domain was still divided into 2 castles after merging, they would not be able to defend together and would be easily attacked one by one. Therefore, although the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was a foundation passed down from their ancestors, they still had to give it up. Indecisiveness would only lead to chaos. Feng Zhanlin understood this simple principle. 10 days later, the migration was completed. All the wealth in the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved, and the people were all moved to the new city. As for Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others, they began to cultivate again, still working hard to improve their cultivation in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Lin Muyu's next goal was the 70th layer of Heavenly Cave, but he did not know how long it would take to achieve it. Chapter 1002. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lin Muyu and the other 3 had spent almost every day in the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months of cultivation, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin had stepped into the 65th Grotto Heaven Realm at almost the same time. Tang Xiaoxi had also succeeded in becoming a monarch a month ago, and was now a 62nd Grotto Heaven Realm Little Fox. As for Shi Yan, her progress was the slowest, and she was still lingering on the edge of the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm. There was no other way. The power that was destroyed by the Divine Pact could not be so easily cultivated back. However, Lin Muyu was well aware that even if Shi Yan was only at the 10th Grotto Heaven Realm, her usefulness was no less than that of a 90th Grotto Heaven Realm God Emperor. A blazing angel at the Great Perfection Realm had directly intimidated Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai Wu Feng, and the other God Emperors. If not for Shi Yan, Feng Zhanlin and the others would not have submitted so easily. The moonlight scattered on the icy plains outside the Cave of Gods and Demons. After 3 months, the ancient mystic realm had already entered winter. There was even a heavy snowfall a few days ago, and the accumulated snow had not melted yet. On the layers of snow, Lin Muyu laid on her back with her hands behind her head, and a wild grass root in her mouth, leisurely swinging her battle boots. Beside her, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were also there. I wonder how long Sister Haiyan can last this time. Qin Yin smiled hopefully. It has already been 8 hours, and she still hasn't come out. Don't worry, we all know Shi Yan's strength very well. Her understanding of power is far above the 3 of us, and she knows how to use it and cultivate. Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon in the sky, and said, I am very worried about the Empire. We have been here for half a year, and I wonder how Brother Feng and Sister Chu Yao are doing. Did the feudal vassals and the National Assembly continue to make things difficult for them? Qin Yin smiled. Half a year here is half a month in the Shattered Cauldron world. Nothing big will happen. After the National Assembly attacked Situ Sun, the Longdan army camp has taken a series of measures as punishment, and the National Army has even lost basic mobility. With Feng Jixing, Situ Sun, and Weichou guarding Lanyan City, I believe nothing will happen. Oh. Why is Xiao Yin so confident that nothing will happen? Because it's very simple. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, revealing 2 beautiful little dimples, and said, Zhuang Yan Su Changjing, and the others are only relying on Imperial Uncle Qin Lian's authority. But I still understand Imperial Uncle better. He is calm as water, and when Imperial Father and Qin Yi were still here, Qin Lian handled things calmly. This time, he must feel that constitutionalism is a long-term strategy, so he supported it. But at the end of the day, he is a member of the Qin family, and it is impossible for him to help Zhuang Yan and the other feudal vassals divide the Qin family's world. You see things clearly. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she smiled, and said, If I'm not wrong, the current National Assembly should be changing its blood. I believe in Brother Feng's ability. When we return to the Shattered Cauldron world, the National Assembly will be a real National Assembly, no longer controlled by the feudal vassals. But before we officially lose control of the National Assembly, Zhuang Yan, Yang Zhong, and the others will definitely counterattack once. It all depends on how Brother Feng handles this counterattack. Don't worry. Qin Yin sat up, held his hand, and felt warm. She said, Since we're already in the prehistoric mystic realm, let's not think about the Shattered Cauldron world anymore. Just leave that place to Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, and the others. Why isn't Xiaoxi saying anything? She's asleep. Qin Yin turned around, and felt a little helpless. Tang Xiaoxi was leaning on her arm, and she was already breathing softly. As expected, she had fallen asleep. But at this moment, Lin Wuyu suddenly raised her eyebrows. Someone's coming. The spirit pulse technique discovered a fluctuation of divine power 20 kilometers away. The person was very fast, and with a shatter of the void, he had already arrived on the snowy plains. There weren't many people who could find this place, and Feng Zhanlin was one of them. The person who had come was him. At this moment, Feng Zhanlin was the domain lord of the reorganized Spirit Sparrow region. He had a huge territory under his control, and he had a strong army. He wore a golden robe embroidered with a fierce tiger, and he had the air of a general. Domain Lord Feng, why are you here? Lin Wuyu sat up. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said respectfully, Lin General, something happened in Spirit Sparrow region. Why? Raging Fire region attacked? That's not it. Feng Zhanlin smiled. I've heard that Lin General injured Dongfang Yan's heart meridian. I'm afraid Dongfang Yan won't be able to attack Spirit Sparrow region for 2 to 3 months. This incident was caused by Sky Foothill region. Sky Foothill region? Yes. Feng Zhanlin nodded and said, the Celestial Foothill domain is the Machi clan's territory that has been passed down for generations. Moreover, it's less than 100 miles away from the Linke domain. It's probably because we've merged the Golden Dragon domain that we've attracted the attention of the Celestial Foothill domain. Not long ago, there was a battle in the Yongling Valley between the two domains. The Linke domain lost an ultimate god while the Celestial Foothill domain lost 3 ultimate gods. That's a small skirmish. That's right, but we can't ignore the fact that Sky Foothill region dared to fight us. I think Sky Foothill region Lord Machi Lin has already decided to take action against us. Since ancient times, how can others sleep next to one's bed? Golden Dragon Domain's previous owners, Wu Feng and Wu Su, were not ambitious, so Sky Foothill region turned a blind eye. However, it's different now. Golden Dragon Domain has merged with Spirit Sparrow region, so Machi Lin can no longer ignore our existence. Lin Wuyu pondered and asked, what kind of place is Sheep Spirit Valley? It's a deep valley, but it's full of spiritual energy. Even in winter, hundreds of flowers bloom as if it's spring. There are many wild and undiscovered spiritual fruits in the Yang Spirit Valley, so the Yang Spirit Valley has always been a place of contention. Whoever possesses the Yang Spirit Valley will be able to nurture more godly state experts. Territorial Lord, what do you mean? I think we must fight for Sheep Spirit Valley, and there will be a war between us and Sky Foothill region. Very well. How strong is Sky Foothill region? Tell me the truth. Feng Zhanlin was stunned and said, although Sky Foothill region isn't as strong as Raging Fire region, it's not too bad either. Territorial Lord Machi Lin has long entered the 86th level Grotto Heaven, while his cousin Machi Lei is at the 81st level Grotto Heaven. The entire Sky Foothill region has 9 Emperor Gods, 64 Divine Kings, over 200 Ultimate Gods, and over 10,000 servants. What about our Spirit Sparrow region? Feng Zhanlin was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose and said, I've disappointed Lin General. Including Lin General and the ladies, the Spirit Sparrow region has a total of 15 Emperor Gods, 102 Divine Kings, over 500 Ultimate Gods, and over 30,000 servants. Then we're much stronger than Sky Foothill region. Lin Wuyu's gaze became determined. Fight! Destroy Sky Foothill region before the Raging Fire region comes looking for trouble. We'll eat their power and strengthen ourselves. Does that mean Lin General agrees? Yes. Great, that's great. Feng Zhanlin said confidently, I think Machi Lin will definitely gather his men to defend Sheep Spirit Valley and take back this place. Therefore, I've decided to lead my men to fight tomorrow. If possible, Lin General, please bring Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi and Lord Seraphim. It'll be best if we can get the most results with the least cost. Yes, I know. Lin Wuyu said cheerfully. Territorial Lord, go back and prepare. We'll stay in Spirit Sparrow region tonight, and depart with you tomorrow. Yes. Feng Zhanlin flew away in the blink of an eye and turned into a meteor in the sky. Lin Wuyu looked back and saw Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi staring at her with wide eyes. She could not help but feel awkward. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a piece of meat. Tang Xiaoxi giggled. But it's delicious. You make it sound like you've eaten it before. Tang Xiaoxi's face instantly turned red. She could not take the teasing at all. Qin Yin said seriously, "Are we really going to war with Sky Foothill region?" "Of course. If we don't fight others, others will come and fight us." Lin Muyu lay back down on the snow and said, "Since we've come to the prehistoric mystic realm, if we don't overturn the seas and rivers, we won't be worthy of this trip." The two beautiful girls smiled knowingly. At this moment, a piercingly cold divine power of light rushed out of the cave of gods and demons. It was Shi Yan. She looked very energetic. Although her body was covered with icicles, the charm in her eyes was leaping and soaring like never before. "Congratulations, Sister Shi Yan. You've broken through." "Thank you." Shi Yan patted the ice on her body and said, "I really did not expect I could jump from level 10 to level 20 in just one day." "What? Sister Shi Yan reached level 20 Grotto Heaven?" Qin Yin was shocked. "Yes, why? Is it abnormal?" Shi Yan said. "No, it's just that my advancement was too slow before. Now it's so fast." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "This is called good preparation. The slow progress is just to lay the foundation for the leap in the future." Shi Yan said, "I heard sounds outside just now. Is there going to be a fight tomorrow?" "Yes." "Very good." Shi Yan reached out and grabbed at the void in front of her. Immediately, a thin sword condensed from streams of light appeared. It was Qi. She smiled slightly and said, "I just happen to want to exercise my muscles. Once I step into the God King realm, I'll probably be able to use all 7 slashes." "That's for the best." Lin Muyu jumped up and patted the ice off her body. "Let's go. We can still eat supper when we return to Spirit Sparrow region." "Okay, I want to eat venison hot pot. I want to eat purple potato rice. No, I want to eat bear paw hot pot. You guys are so troublesome. Just eat it all." However, Lin Muyu did not seem to need to worry about this. Spirit Sparrow region was many times larger than before. With just the few of them, it was impossible to exhaust the Spirit Sparrow region. As for wild game, it was even more convenient. Spirit Sparrow region had hundreds of god kings and ultimate gods. They could just go out and hunt in the wild. Simple. Moreover, Feng Zhanlin had already arranged for people to take care of the food. He had some understanding of Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. These gods did not use their strength to bully the weak. They were not lustful, and they were not greedy for power. Their only weakness was that they had very high requirements for food. Chapter 1003. The next day, Spirit Sparrow region's castle was solemn. Though the news of the impending battle was sealed, the entire castle seemed to be shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere. In Spirit Sparrow Palace, Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai and the others stood respectfully below the stairs. There was only one throne in the palace, and this throne belonged to Lin Muyu. Even Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xian just stood at the side. This throne was made of pure gold. Actually, Lin Muyu didn't like it. It was too hard, and it sat on his butt. However, he still calmly sat down. He was the only one who could give out orders. Many of the god emperors and god monarchs in the hall actually only obeyed him, but not Feng Zhanlin. "Lin General, please give the order." Feng Zhanlin said respectfully. In the crowd, God Emperor Luo Xiantian smiled. "Are we going to fight, Big Brother Lin General?" After a few months of familiarity, Luo Xiantian had her own way of addressing Lin Muyu. "Yes." Lin Muyu smiled. "Everyone should have guessed that Sky Foothill region is trying to provoke us. Since that's the case, we have to let them know our power. So today, we will go all out to Sheep Spirit Valley. No matter how many people from Sky Foothill region come, don't think of leaving. Everyone remember, don't kill them. We will destroy Sky Foothill region, but don't kill all their people." Luo Xiantian nodded. "Yes." Niugung said very honestly, "Lin General, don't worry. Our fists will be measured. Then get ready to go." "Yes." When the sun rose, hundreds of godly state experts left the Ling Sparrow domain and flew at a low altitude towards the Sheep Spirit Valley in the east. Lin Muyu knew very well that the period when Dongfang Yan was recuperating was the best time for the Ling Sparrow domain to expand. If they missed it, when Dongfang Yan made a comeback, the Ling Sparrow domain would not be able to withstand it. After all, the absolute power was there. In the Sheep Spirit Valley, there was a wide valley. In the morning, hundreds of flowers bloomed and dew covered the ground. Under the sunlight, one could faintly see a faint golden aura rising from the ground. This was spiritual energy visible to the naked eye. It was the nourishment of this spiritual energy that made the Sheep Spirit Valley feel like spring all year round. Even though the land of the prehistoric mystery dimension was covered in ice and snow, this place still felt like spring. In the middle of the canyon, among the rocks and weeds, there was a group of people dressed in green. They were the people of the Sky Foothill region. In the crowd, a middle-aged martial artist with a resolute appearance and reserved divine light was sitting on a rock. The saber in his hand was reflecting a terrifying cold light under the sunlight. This person was the Celestial Foothill region's region lord, Machi Lin, a God Emperor realm expert who possessed peerless martial arts. Will the Spirit Sparrow region really come? Machi Lin asked. At the side, a slightly younger cultivator nodded and smiled. They will come. Don't worry, big brother. If I'm not wrong, Feng Zhanlin will personally bring people over. But how many people he brings will depend on whether he thinks highly of our Sky Foothill region. Machi Lin frowned. Second brother, is the legend true? Machi Lin was stunned. What legend? In the Spirit Sparrow region, there is a six-winged seraph holding down the fort, and there is also a young man with the overgod spark called Lin Muyu. Is that true? This has not been confirmed. Machi Lin's gaze turned cold. If it is confirmed, then what should we do? Second brother, with our strength, we can indeed kill Feng Zhanlin and Feng Zhanhai in this Sheep Spirit Valley. But if they have the help of a seraph, I'm afraid we will fail here today. You should have heard about what happened in the Golden Dragon region. Looks like this rumor is most likely not false. I don't believe that a seraph would really come to this barren land. Machi Lei said, Big brother, you believe those rumors too easily. Think about it. What kind of existence is a seraph? They are dominator-level monsters that can control the heaven realm. They are extremely honorable in the god realm. Why would they come to the ancient secret realm to suffer? Think about what there is in this secret realm. Other than slaughter and conflict, there is probably only a pile of ancient divine weapons that have been lost somewhere. But what if? Machi Lin's brows were tightly furrowed. The Sky Foothill region that you and I created for hundreds of years isn't easy. We can't let it be destroyed like this. I have a bad premonition. If the Blazing Angel really comes, let the brothers retreat. There's no need for this battle. Retreat? Machi Lei said, Big brother, it is easy for you to say. The arrow is already on the bowstring, it has to be released. Moreover, if Feng Zhanlin and Lin Muyu really come, they will not let us leave. These people are ambitious, destroying the Golden Dragon region in a day. That is the Wu family's Golden Dragon region for tens of thousands of years. Sigh. Machi Lin suddenly looked up. A beam of flowing light flew over from afar. It was a divine king of the Sky Foothill region, he said respectfully. Region Lord, people are coming. People from the Spirit Sparrow region are coming. How many people are coming? Who are they? I can't see clearly who they are, but there are more than 400 god realms. What? Machi Lin was shocked. He clenched his fists and said, Why do they have so many god realms? Region Lord, they merged the Golden Dragon region almost unharmed. Damn it, retreat. I am afraid it is too late. Machi Lei's voice trembled. Suddenly, a bright golden light bloomed in the sky. There was a faint sound of God. A huge golden will suddenly spread out. In the next moment, a strong domain power fell like rain, controlling the area within a few miles of the Sheep Spirit Valley. Machi Lin and the others only needed to use their power slightly to find that the law of breaking through the void was already sealed. That is, God will. Machi Lin's body trembled slightly. How can there be a great perfection God Emperor in the Spirit Sparrow region? Did Feng Zhanlin already break through in a short time? Impossible. At this moment, figures appeared on the surrounding mountains. In the blink of an eye, over 100 god realm experts of the Sky Foothill region were surrounded. A majestic force as strong as a mountain swept over. On top of the mountain, a handsome young man wearing a white robe and armor slowly flew over with a sharp sword in his hand. It was Lin Muyu. Feng Zhanlin, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi Shiyan and the others came with Lin Muyu. As for the godly beast Fuzhu, he was watching from afar. If anything went wrong, he would flood the Sheep Spirit Valley. What is the meaning of this? Machi Lin was very calm. Feng Zhanlin smiled slightly. Long time no see, Region Lord Machi. Machi Lin coldly glanced around and saw that the surrounding mountains were already filled with people from the Spirit Sparrow region. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart as he said, "It seems that the Wind Region Lord has decided to eat us." Decided? Where did that come from? Feng Zhanlin held his sword and said, "Courtesy demands reciprocity. The Sheep Spirit Valley is not anyone's territory. Since the Sky Foothill region can come, the Spirit Sparrow region can naturally come as well. However, the people from the Sky Foothill region were overbearing yesterday and killed an ultimate god of the Spirit Sparrow region. Is that true? Deaths are common in disputes between two sides," Machi Lin said. "However, we did not expect Region Lord Feng to bring so many people over. You are quite ambitious." Feng Zhanlin laughed. "It's not that I'm ambitious, I just don't want to be bullied." "What do you mean?" Feng Zhanlin raised his eyebrows. "Your Sky Foothill region is the same as our Spirit Sparrow region. You have been bullied by the Raging Fire region for hundreds of years. There is no other reason. We fight on our own and are naturally not a match for the Raging Fire region. But if we work together, it may not be the case." Ha 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 ha. Machi Lin could not help but laugh wildly. "Looks like Region Lord Feng wants to use the same trick again. To destroy our Sky Foothill region like how you destroyed the Golden Dragon region?" However, he slowly held the blade horizontally in front of his chest, divine power breaking out of his body, and said with an imposing manner, "Unfortunately, I, Machi Lin, am not Wu Feng. I will not give up without a fight. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then you must step over my dead body. Feng Zhanlin, come at me, I, Machi Lin, am not a person who is afraid of death. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then do it. I just don't know if your sword is sharper, or if my bones are harder." Feng Zhanlin gritted his teeth. As the legends said, the Sky Foothill region's Machi family was a bunch of hard bones. Stubborn even when cooked, they would not admit defeat. Seeing that Feng Zhanlin was at his wit's end, other than attacking, Lin Muyu coughed. Machi Lin and Machi Lei immediately looked at Lin Muyu. "Could you be Lin Muyu?" Machi Lin said. "That's right, that's me. Looks like you aren't as strong as the legends say," Machi Lin said directly. Luo Xintian, who was behind Lin Muyu, was immediately unhappy. She raised her long sword and said, "Machi Lin, are you blind? Lin General is clearly very strong." Machi Lin frowned, but did not argue with her. He just asked, "I just want to ask, who is the one who activated the God will just now? To actually be able to control the plane within the entire region, I want to meet this expert." "Meet what? Are you going to surrender or not?" Luo Xintian was naturally hot-tempered. Instantly, the people of Sky Foothill region were all enraged. They all took out their swords, weapons and stood in the air, their divine power exploding. They shouted angrily, "Let's fight, who's afraid of who?" The people of Sky Foothill region are not easily frightened. Right at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly stretched her palm forward. Immediately, a buzzing sound of airflow could be heard as a huge golden roulette expanded rapidly. The piercingly cold airflow even forced Machi Lin and Machi Lei to unleash their energy to defend against it, while the rest of the people with lower cultivation base were shocked by the tens of meters tall golden roulette and were sent flying backward. The heaven and earth dimmed, and the power of a God Emperor could be seen. "You are not a great perfection, God Emperor, but you can use the God Wheel." Machi Lin looked calmly at Lin Muyu, and an answer was on the tip of his tongue. Sovereign personality. Lin Muyu had a bright smile on her face, and her voice was very calm. "Machi Region Lord, are you willing to join us and rule the 64 regions together? As long as you join, Spirit Sparrow region will establish Sky Foothill Hall and Spirit Sparrow Hall. You will be the Hall Master of Sky Foothill Hall, and you will be on the same level as Feng Zhanlin. So this is not a merger, You are different. You are joining the alliance. Chapter 1004. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists at Machi Lin and said politely, Region Lord Machi, although the primordial mystery realm is called the 64 domains, it is only a general name. Since ancient times, the 64 domains have been a world of great battles. At most, there are 273 domains, and at least, there are 8 domains. In such a world of great battles, we naturally have to adapt to the situation. If we only rely on the strength of one of our domains, we will definitely be swallowed by the raging fire domain. Divided, we will be weak. United, we will be strong. I hope the region lord will consider this carefully. The Xianyuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was enshrouded in waves of golden waves that dissipated into the surrounding air. However, it gave off a sense of righteousness. Even god emperors like Machi Lin and Machi Lei felt like they were being summoned by the way of the king. In addition to Lin Muyu's extraordinary appearance and righteousness, Machi Lin could not help but waver a little. Big brother, the celestial foothill region. Machi Lei seemed to want to say something. However, Machi Lin waved his hand lightly and said, Second brother, there is no need to say anything. Region Lord Feng is right. Divided, we will be weak. United, we will be strong. Since we have painstakingly built the celestial foothill region, we should find a good home for our brothers. As he spoke, Machi Lin slowly bent his body and knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu. He looked up at him and said, I hope that you can fulfill your promise and lead us brothers to conquer the 64 domains. From today onwards, we will never be bullied by anyone. Get up, I will. Lin Muyu bowed and helped Machi Lin up. He smiled awkwardly and said, We really had no choice but to bring such a big lineup today. We don't dare to look down on our brothers from the celestial foothill region. I hope the region lord will be magnanimous enough to forgive us. Machi Lin also smiled and said, You are too polite. What are you saying? Brothers, I, Machi Lin, have decided to join the alliance. What about you? Most of them were awed by the spirit will power displayed by Lin Muyu. How could they have any objections? They all knelt on the ground and said, We are willing to join the alliance with the region lord. Good. Lin Muyu's eyebrows relaxed, and he finally felt relieved. At this moment, he had enough power to resist the raging fire territory. Thinking about it, back in the Shattered Cauldron realm, she only had a few God realm experts under her command. But now Lin Muyu could command more than a dozen god emperors. How mighty was that? At the side, Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, Lin General, this subordinate feels that, since we're joining the alliance, why don't we keep the names Spirit Sparrow Region and Sky Foothill Region, and give our new alliance a new name? Wouldn't that be better? Lin Muyu nodded happily. All right, but what should we call it? He looked at Qin. Qin looked around and said with a smile, How about we call it the Dragon Rebel Battle League? If the Raging Fire region provokes us again, we'll let them know how powerful we are. Dragon Rebel Battle League. That's too long. Let's call it the Dragon League, Tang Xiaoxi said. Qin smiled happily. That's good too. Brother Yu, how about Dragon League? Lin Muyu looked at Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin and said, What do you think? How about we call it the Dragon League from now on? Both of them were uncouth men. They immediately cupped their fists and said, We have no objections. All right, it's decided then. Machi Lin muttered and changed his mind like Feng Zhanlin. Lin General, since our Sky Foothill region has joined the alliance, then it won't be like the Spirit Sparrow region, where we have to abandon our original territory and move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, right? Do you think it's appropriate, Lord Machi? Lin Muyu asked modestly. The territory of the Sky Foothill region was built by us after hundreds of years of hard work. I feel it's a pity. How about? Machi Lin thought for a few seconds and said, I would like to request that only the God Realm experts move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, while the servants and civilians stay in the castle to recuperate and provide food and spirit fruits. What do you think, Lin General? That's appropriate. Lin Muyu nodded and agreed. Just do as I say, Lord Machi. As long as the God Realm experts go to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, it'll be fine just in case the Raging Fire region attacks us. Yes, I understand. Machi Lin's face showed some relief. In his opinion, Lin Muyu, as the leader of the Dragon League, was willing to listen to his suggestion politely. Such a talent could become the overlord of the 64 regions. Therefore, both sides put away their weapons. Machi Lin led close to 300 God Realm experts and followed Lin Muyu back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle. He only sent the servants back to transport the resources. On the way, when they found out that Shiyen was a blazing angel and Fuju was a ferocious beast, Machi Lin and Machi Lei were even more shocked. They looked at Lin General in a new light. He could even tame the legendary Fuju. This kind of person was really not simple. After returning to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, the most important thing was to arrange a place for the people of the Sky Foothill region. Fortunately, Wu Feng and Wu Su were extravagant and had built 2 new palaces in the castle. It was just enough for the people of the Sky Foothill region to rest. 2 days later, a large amount of resources were continuously transported from the Sky Foothill region. There were weapons, rations, spirit fruit trees, etc. The Machi brothers had managed the Sky Foothill region for many years, so they naturally had many treasures. Machi Lin naturally wanted to offer some to the leader of the Dragon League. Unfortunately, he was rejected by Lin Muyu. If she wanted treasures, she could find them herself. There was no need for her subordinates to offer them. This naturally made the Machi brothers admire her even more, and they treated each other with sincerity. Straightforward people did straightforward things without much hesitation, so they were naturally easier to get along with. On the 3rd day, the gate of the Spirit Sparrow Castle was replaced with the words Dragon League. Feng Zhanlin's subordinates also started to make the Dragon League's war flag. There was a dragon-shaped pattern, which was somewhat similar to the war flag of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu saw this and didn't say anything. The Dragon League was the power of the divine realm, but the original intention of Lin Muyu establishing the Dragon League was to help her pacify the various countries of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Therefore, the people of the Dragon League would sooner or later become the generals of the Longdan army camp, from captaincy to Kiliarchs and centurions. If even the centurions of the Longdan army camp were at the divine realm, who could resist such an army in the Shattered Cauldron realm and the Celestial Pole continent? Just like that, the order in the Spirit Sparrow Castle was slowly established. More than 10 days later, everyone got along well with each other. Apart from some conflicts, such as sparring and impulsiveness, there wasn't much else. Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin were both leaders with both prestige and strength. The 2 of them had one thing in common, which was that their strength was above Lin Muyu's, but they were also very respectful of Lin Muyu. With the 2 of them managing the Dragon League, it was guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. After a while, Lin Muyu naturally continued to cultivate in the Cave of Gods and Demons with Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shiyen. At this time, there were already endless spirit fruits, so the cultivation process was also twice as fast. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months passed. Everyone's cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Lin Muyu had already stepped into the 69th Heavenly Abode realm, and could break through to the 70th Heavenly Abode realm at any time. Qin Yin was 1 step ahead of her. She had already cultivated to the 71st Heavenly Abode realm. It was understandable that the difficulty of cultivating the Over-God lattice was slightly lower than that of the Sovereign lattice. Tang Xiaoxi followed closely behind, having cultivated to the 66th Heavenly Abode realm. As for Shiyen, she had already recovered to the 30th Heavenly Abode realm, and had once again stepped into the God King realm. It could be considered a huge breakthrough. At night, the sky was filled with stars. In the domain castle of the Raging Fire Domain, the huge fortress was completely silent. Dongfeng Yan, who was dressed in a white robe, sat upright in the main hall. As he breathed, raging flames spread out around him. He slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with radiance. Congratulations, Domain Lord. It seems that your injuries have completely healed. Dongfeng Jin, who was waiting on the side, said happily. Dongfeng Yan nodded and said in an old voice, "A lot of things happened during my seclusion. Dongfeng Jin, tell me everything. What happened to the group of people who injured me?" Dongfeng Jin frowned and said, "Domain Lord, they made a big move. We have already inquired and found out that the kid who injured you is called Lin Muyu, a new god emperor from East Heaven. It seems that his relationship with the 7 luminaries demon emperor and Xiao is not simple. In the 6 months that Domain Lord was in seclusion, Lin Muyu and Feng Zhanlin joined forces to destroy the Golden Dragon domain, and then they fought with the Sky Foothill domain in the Sheep Spirit Valley. What was the result of the battle? Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes. Dongfang Jin's expression did not look good as he said. Machi Lin and Machi Lei led the Sky Foothill domain to surrender to Lin Muyu. It is said that Lin Muyu used a spirit wheel to make Machi Lin and the others surrender, letting them know that Lin Muyu's divine personality is the legendary sovereign personality. Sovereign personality. Dongfang Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Then we have even more reason to start a war. Domain Lord, I have inquired that Lin Muyu has conquered the forces of the Spirit Sparrow domain, the Golden Dragon domain, and the Sky Foothill domain, and established a Dragon League. Currently, the Dragon League has a total of 24 God Emperors, 166 God Kings, and more than 800 ultimate gods. Its strength is comparable to the Raging Fire domain. In addition to the sovereign personality Lin Muyu and Seraph Shiyan, I'm afraid we won't be able to gain any advantage if we challenge them rashly. Why don't we plan slowly? Oh, how do we plan slowly? Dongfang Jin sneered and said. After the Golden Dragon domain was destroyed, the domain lord Wu Feng and his son Wu Su came to the Raging Fire domain. Why don't we give them a servant army and order them to attack the empty Sky Foothill domain castle? As long as Lin Muyu dares to lead the main force to the Sky Foothill domain, we will destroy the empty Spirit Sparrow castle in one go so that they can't look after each other. Good. Good plan. Dongfang Yan smiled faintly. In this way, we will be in an invincible position. Bring Wu Feng and his son to see me. I want to talk to them about this personally. Yes. Wu Feng seemed to have aged a lot. His face was full of wrinkles. After losing the Golden Dragon domain, his mental state was very bad. Even his strength was greatly reduced. Domain Lord Wu Feng, it's been a long time. Dongfang Yan greeted him personally. Wu Feng said with a trembling voice, Sigh. I'm ashamed. Thank you, Domain Lord Dongfang, for accepting us. What are you saying, Domain Lord? We are all gods of the 64 domains. We should support each other. Don't worry, Domain Lord. I, Dongfang Yan, will definitely help you take back what you lost. However, before that, I hope Domain Lord can do one thing for me. Yes, I will definitely do it. Ha 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 ha, good good. Chapter 1005. I wonder, what do you want us to do? Wu Feng asked cautiously. It's simple. Dongfang Yan waved his sleeves and said indifferently, Lead the few God Realm subordinates you have now and bring 10,000 servants to the east, and take over Machi Lin's domain castle of Heaven Foothill. What? Wu Feng was shocked. We only have a few God Realm experts left. How can we stop Brother Machi? Don't worry, Domain Master. Machi Lin and Machi Lei are already in Linkai Castle. That's the capital of Dragon League. The domain castle in Heaven Foothill region is empty. You won't meet the main force if you attack Heaven Foothill region. Your opponents might even be a group of mortals. Dongfang Jin smiled. Old Domain Master went to attack Heaven Foothill region. So we can take the chance to attack Linkai Castle. Oh no, this domain castle was originally called Golden Dragon Palace. It was old Domain Master's home, hee hee. Dongfang Jin's lukewarm words caused Wu Feng to frown, while Wu Su raised his brows and said, Deputy Region Lord Dongfang, we father and son, have come together. Why must you ridicule us like this? Come to join you? Dongfang Jin couldn't help but laugh. Young Domain Master, I'm afraid you don't understand the meaning of joining. Since you have come to join me, you are now people of Raging Fire region. You are my subordinates. Your attitude towards me is enough to give you 100 lashes. You. Wu Su was furious. Dongfang Jin laughed mockingly and said, I heard that the young Protectorate Lord was publicly humiliated by Lin Muyu in the Golden Dragon region. Both of them had just entered the Celestial Varch realm. But Lin Muyu defeated the young Protectorate Lord within 10 moves. What do you mean by this? Wu Su's face was cold. Nothing. Dongfang Jin clapped his hands and said with a smile, Young Domain Lord, you've lived a carefree life in the land of gentleness since you were young, so I'm sure you've never been humiliated. I think this is where young Domain Lord loses. Young Domain Lord only knows the softness of a woman's breasts, but you don't know the strength of a man's fists. As young Domain Lord, you don't think about improving yourself. When I was at young Domain Lord's age, I had already stepped into the 80th heaven realm, but you're still immersed in the land of gentleness. Dongfeng Jin, what is the meaning of this? Wu Su roared angrily. At the side, Dongfeng Yan and Wu Feng remained silent and didn't say anything. They seemed to intend for Dongfeng Jin to educate Wu Su. Dongfeng Jin chuckled. Young master, do you know why the Raging Fire territory is so strong? Why can the Raging Fire realm stand proudly in the south of the 64 regions, while the Golden Dragon realm has been dormant all this time? Why? Because the men born in the Raging Fire region are all men. Our hands are not only used to caress women's breasts, but also to kill people. You Wu Su, with your current talent, you are not fit to be a member of the Raging Fire region. Letting you join the Raging Fire region is simply a disgrace to us, so I, Dongfeng Jin, must first turn you into a real man, and then I can rest assured to let you carry out the missions of the Raging Fire region. What do you mean? The young Domain Lord will understand very quickly. Men, bring the gift I've prepared for the young Domain Lord. Yes, Vice Domain Lord. Soon, more than a dozen servants and soldiers walked into the main hall, each of them holding a pitch-black object. When the light shone on it, it was astonishingly clear that it was a bloody human head, and all of them were the heads of young and beautiful women. Ah! Wu Su was so frightened that he fell to his knees. These women were all very familiar. They were the concubines that Wu Su had brought out of the Golden Dragon realm, and all of them were women that he loved. Dongfeng Jinyu. Wu Su's entire body trembled, and he almost couldn't speak clearly. You don't have to thank me, young Domain Lord. Dongfeng Jin said lightly. Only by cutting off these delusions of yours can you become a true powerhouse. Otherwise, you will only be bullied and humiliated by others for the rest of your life. At this time, Dongfeng Yan finally opened his eyes and said, Dongfeng Jin, that's enough. As he spoke, he looked at Wu Su and said, Please forgive me if I have offended you, young Domain Lord. However, this mission is very important, and young Domain Lord must be careful. There must not be any mistakes. Yes, Dongfeng Domain Lord. Wu Su knelt on the ground like a dog at death's door. Wu Feng didn't speak from the beginning to the end. He knew that this was a show put on by Dongfeng Yan and Dongfeng Jin, but he could only endure it. He was living under someone else's roof, and his strength was inferior to theirs, so he could only endure it. Dongfeng Yan's breathing was very long, and he seemed to have signs of breaking through to the perfected divine emperor realm. Dongfeng Jin, on the other hand, had 85 grotto heavens, and even Dongfeng Jin, the deputy Domain Lord, was stronger than him. How could he protect his son Wu Su? Moreover, Wu Feng had long realized that it was his pampering that made Wu Su so weak. Slowly kneeling on the ground, Wu Feng said, Domain Lord, please rest assured. I will definitely complete the mission. Also, thank you, Deputy Domain Lord, for teaching my son. Wu Feng thanks you. Old Domain Lord, you are welcome. Dongfeng Jin smiled lightly. Then you may leave. I will get someone to send the commander's seal to the old Domain Lord. You will leave tomorrow morning, and you will arrive at the Sky Foothill region the day after. Yes. 3 days later, when the news reached the headquarters of the Dragon League, everyone was furious. Preposterous. Ma Qilin smashed the teacup in his hand and said, Sending 2 stray dogs to attack my domain castle, how shameless. Lin General, I request for reinforcements. There are tens of thousands of servants in the domain castle. We can't go. Feng Zhanlin said. Yes, we can't go. Lin Muyu agreed. Why? Ma Qilin clenched his teeth. They are luring the tiger away from the mountain. Lin Muyu stood up from the Alliance Lord's throne and said, Don't worry, Domain Lord Machi. I believe that Dongfeng Yan and Dongfeng Jin are less than 100 miles away from us, waiting for us. As soon as we leave the domain castle, they will immediately attack the Spirit Sparrow Castle. At that time, we might not even have a place to stay. Perhaps, we will only lead the warriors who are above the Divine King realm. With the help of the void-breaking technique and flying, we will be able to reach the domain castle within an hour, kill Wu Feng and Wu Su, these two bastards, and then come back. Ma Qilin still had a glimmer of hope. No. Lin Muyu shook her head. What if Dongfang Yan ambushes us on the way? We will lose more. Ma Qilin was filled with regret. If this had happened earlier, I would have moved all my servants out of Domain Castle. Marshal Lin, are we just going to sit back and do nothing? Are we just going to wait for those despicable people to destroy our Domain Castle? No, we have to do something. Lin Muyu frowned and said, beat the drums, summon all Divine Realm experts and above, and prepare to move out. Feng Zhanlin was shocked. Lin General, didn't you say that you won't go to the Sky Foothill region? What are you going to do by gathering everyone here? Changing homes. Lin Muyu said indifferently. What changing homes? Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, Feng Zhanhai, Ma Qilei and the others were all stunned. Yes, changing homes. Lin Muyu said in a low voice. Our current strength is equal to that of the Raging Fire region, we can fight. As long as we gather all our forces and attack the Domain Castle of the Raging Fire region, there is no reason for Dongfang Yan not to go back to defend. If he really doesn't, then we will take down the Domain Castle of the Raging Fire region in one fell swoop. The Domain Castle of the Raging Fire region is many times bigger than the Spirit Sparrow Castle, with abundant resources. Even if we exchange, we will not lose anything. If Dongfang Yan goes back to defend, then we can fight. Our battle with the Raging Fire region is today? Feng Zhanlin was shocked. Let's do it today, what do you think? Lin Muyu smiled. Immediately Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin and the others nodded. Okay, today is the day. In terms of the number of God Realm experts, the Raging Fire region was superior, but in terms of the quality of the God Emperor experts, the Raging Fire region was far inferior. The Raging Fire region could only send out a few God Emperor experts like Dongfang Yan and Dongfang Jin. However, the Dragon League was different. Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Ma Qilin, Ma Qilei, and the others were all elites in the God Emperor realm. In addition to Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yanfu, and other uncertain factors, if they really fought, the Dragon League had at least a 70% chance of winning. At night, more than 800 God Realm experts stood tall like a forest. Under Lin Muyu's command, all 800 gods flew out of the Spirit Sparrow Castle. In the blink of an eye, they followed the mountain range and flew straight towards the direction of the Raging Fire region. Everyone flew close to the mountain ridge like a meteor in the night sky, but who would know that each of these meteors was a god who possessed a mighty godly power? Amidst the mountains in a hidden call, a group of black-robed experts raised their heads to look at the flowing lights in the sky. Their faces were filled with shock. One of the people in the crowd frowned. What is Lin Muyu doing? It was Dongfang Yan, who had led 1,000 God State experts to ambush here, waiting for the opportunity to attack the Lingke Castle. Dongfang Jin said coldly. They seem to be heading towards the Raging Fire region. Could it be? Lin Muyu is crazy. He wants to attack our Domain Castle? He is not crazy. Dongfang Yan clenched his teeth. He is a smart man. Is he going to fight with us? Domain Master, let's go back to the Domain Castle. We can't let them wait here with bated breath. Otherwise, Lin Muyu's people will attack the Domain Castle in an hour. That is the city we have been managing for thousands of years. Dongfang Yan took a deep breath. I didn't expect that the battle that will decide the future of the Raging Fire region would take place in this nameless mountain. Everyone, don't hold back anymore. Attack. Destroy this so-called Dragon League. Yes. They didn't hide their auras anymore. They all took out their weapons and magic treasures, turned into streams of light, and rushed towards Lin Muyu and the others. In the sky, Lin Muyu had noticed the dense auras in the valley a few minutes earlier. She had already warned the others. The moment the Raging Fire region launched the attack, the people of the Dragon League also swooped down and fought with their opponents. For a moment, the night sky was lit up like it was daytime. All the gods used their powers, fire, ice, and wind blades in the sky. It was like a battlefield at the end of the world. Chapter 1006. They really dared to fight. The Raging Fire region had been in the south of the Mystery Land for thousands of years. No one would have thought that a newly established Dragon League would dare to fight with the Raging Fire region in the wild. How crazy and confident were they? In the air, raging flames and frost intertwined with each other, lingering around a shining long sword. It was Lin Muyu who had slashed down from the sky. Before the sword chi arrived, it had already locked onto Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu, who was in the air, shouted in a low voice, "Dongfang Yan is mine. No one can take him away." As everyone knew, with the invisible elephant spell and the divine weapon, Xianyuan sword, Lin Muyu could challenge 20 levels of Grotto Heaven. Now that he was at 69 levels of Grotto Heaven, it was not too much for him to challenge Dongfang Yan, who had just stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven Great Perfection, Celestial Emperor Realm. However, he was not sure if he could win. In fact, Lin Muyu had a clear plan. Recently, there were many rumors that Dongfang Yan had stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven. If that was the case, Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin would not be a match for Dongfang Yan. It was better to hold him back and let Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin kill the other experts of the Raging Fire region. The Dragon League would have the upper hand in a war of attrition. Good. Dongfang Yan laughed and shot out like an arrow. Before he could reach Lin Muyu, he raised his finger, and the sword on his back was unsheathed. It turned into a stream of light and shot towards Lin Muyu. Dongfang Yan had 3 flying swords, named Rainbow Light, Morning Dew, and Flame Blade. The flying sword in front of him was undoubtedly Rainbow Light. It was very bright. Pung. There was a loud sound in the air, which was especially noticeable in the Battle of Gods. Lin Muyu used all her strength to send Rainbow Light flying, but her arm was slightly numb. Lin Muyu had been improving rapidly in the past 6 months, but Dongfang Yan did not stay idle either. Dongfang Yan, who had stepped into the Perfection Celestial Emperor Realm, had increased his divine power by at least 40%. It was a qualitative leap. Swish. A chill came from behind. It was the flying sword, Morning Dew. In terms of sword technique, Dongfang Yan was probably a master in this world. Lin Muyu stepped into the air, and suddenly swung the Xianyuan sword. Her entire aura was like that of a giant shield, and even the shapeless grand void celestial body appeared beneath her feet. She was young, but she had the demeanor of a grandmaster. The Xianyuan sword swept past like lightning and knocked Qiao Lu away, but a strong burning sensation came from above her head. It was the flaming blade. Last time, when the Raging Fire territory attacked the Sparrow territory, Dongfang Yan fought Feng Zhanlin alone for nearly an hour. Dongfang Yan only used 2 flying swords to attack Feng Zhanlin, but this time, he used 3 flying swords as soon as he attacked. It was clear that Dongfang Yan no longer regarded this fight as a game, but wanted to kill Lin Muyu as soon as possible. However, Lin Muyu, a young junior who had just entered the Emperor God realm, had a profound cultivation. Her attack and defense were orderly, and she was not disturbed at all. Gently grabbing at her waist with her left hand, Lin Muyu's palm shook with the whistling sound of Demon Noise Fist. She directly sent the Demon Noise blade into the sky. There was a loud explosion above her head, and the flames surged like a round plate. The Demon Noise blade almost perfectly resolved the attack of the Flame blade. Once the Demon Noise blade was out, Lin Muyu did not think of withdrawing it in a short time. She held the sword in one hand and slashed at Dongfang Yan, while her left palm slightly opened, controlling the Demon Noise blade to attack from another direction. Since Dongfang Yan was a sword master, Lin Muyu had to show her skill, otherwise, she would be at a disadvantage. When the rainbow light was shaken away by Xianyuan's sword for the 3rd time, Dongfang Yan's face was already very ugly. As a great perfection Emperor God, he actually could not suppress this first-stage junior Emperor God. He had no choice but to directly hold the rainbow light, activating his divine power. Flames lingered around his body, and he forcibly clashed with Lin Muyu, who was holding Xianyuan's sword. A sword master's ability to attack with a sword was also extraordinary. However, Lin Muyu's sword skills were more effective and lethal. When Xianyuan's sword collided with the rainbow light, he let out a low roar. Suddenly, there seemed to be vines and shadows spreading out in the surrounding air, turning into a destructive cold wind that blew towards Dongfang Yan. Chaos of all lives. Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes, and the god wall on the surface of his body made a buzzing sound. This brat's simple attack actually broke through the earth chi and directly faced the god wall. Step back. Dongfang Yan swept the rainbow light horizontally, and it was so fast that it was almost impossible to be seen by the naked eye. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart, as if she felt the pain of her abdomen being torn by a sharp blade. She hurriedly retreated a few meters, and when she raised her head, 2 flowing lights attacked her. 2-pronged attack. Dongfang Yan let out a roar, and suddenly concentrated his divine power in the air. The 2 flying swords turned into 2 giant pillars, and even directly tore apart an ultimate god along the way who could not dodge in time. This attack was definitely not a trivial one. Lin Muyu did not dare to underestimate it. He quickly raised his left arm, and the buzzing sound of the dragon was endless. Red scales flew out of the void and condensed into a dragon armor around his body. After not seeing each other for a long time, it seemed that Acatosaurus's power had become more solid. At the same time, a dragon blood battle shield was condensed on his arm, and he used his strongest posture to defend against Dongfang Yan's attack. Boom! The 2 swords landed on the dragon blood battle shield like cannonballs. Ice and fire elemental lights shot into the sky. The entire plane seemed to tremble because of this attack. Lin Muyu's arm was numb from the impact, and her blood and chi were in a mess. She even felt like she had lost control of her left arm. Dongfang Yan's strength was obvious. Swoosh! A cold light flashed, and there was a sharp pain in his right arm. It was the rapid attack of the rainbow light. It directly tore a corner of the divine wall, and at the same time, cut a piece of Acatosaurus's scale. It left a few inches long wound on Lin Muyu's arm, and golden blood splashed out, sprinkling like golden pearls in the night sky. Dongfang Yan's speed was too fast. Lin Muyu hurriedly retreated with falling star steps, and at the same time, waved the Xianyuan sword to block several attacks of the rainbow light. The rainbow light could penetrate the divine wall, so it was obviously a divine weapon. Dongfang Yan had been operating in the 64 domains for so many years, and could be called an overlord, so it was reasonable that his personal weapon was not a divine weapon. At this time, Lin Muyu actually felt a little regretful. If she had known this would happen, she would not have fought with Dongfang Yan alone. However, if she did not block Dongfang Yan, and it was Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Machilin, and the others, the winner might have been decided by now. Dongfang Yan was completely different from the Dongfang Yan half a year ago. At this moment, Dongfang Yan had been reborn, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Feng Zhanlin and the others were no match for him anymore. Do you think the Supreme Godhead is omnipotent? Dongfang Yan's eyes were full of sarcasm. Riding on the 3 swords, he laughed loudly and said, "You don't deserve this Supreme Godhead. From now on, it belongs to me, Dongfang Yan." The rainbow light tore through the air, and at the same time, the morning dew and the flaming blade came from the left and right. The whole territory seemed to be locked by Dongfang Yan's aura, leaving Lin Muyu no way out. Speed. It was still speed. Dongfang Yan was a sword master, so he had the upper hand in terms of speed. His understanding of the law of fire and wind was even higher than that of Lin Muyu. Every attack of his was in accordance with the air, the momentum and the power of nature, which doubled the attack power. It felt like he had the right time, the right place, and the right person. Fighting with such a strong master was not only a challenge, but also a pleasure. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu was in a dead end. Dongfang Yan launched an attack from 3 angles in an instant, which was impossible to defend against. Moreover, his power was so strong that ordinary moves could not block it at all. Lin Muyu had many powerful moves, but the 7 glorious stars transformation, and the blood refining the sky needed time to accumulate power. When the power was enough, her body might have been pierced by the flying swords, so she could only block it with small moves. In a split second he made a choice. The invisible elephant spell was activated automatically. The momentum of a mountain in front of him was directly borrowed, but it was not to attack Dongfang Yan, but to attack himself. At the same time, a mass of blood-red flame suddenly burst out of his left fist. The 2 glorious demonic spirits danced, and his fist fiercely hit the mountain. With a boom, Lin Muyu's body bounced back at an unimaginable speed. At the same time, she cleverly dodged the attacks of the morning dew and the flaming blade. At the same time, the Xianyuan sword turned into a bolt of lightning, and with the 5 glorious mountains descending from the sky, it attacked Dongfang Yan's rainbow light at the fastest speed. Bang! The stardust surged. Before Dongfang Yan could figure out what was going on, he was knocked back dozens of meters by Lin Muyu's heavy blow. He couldn't imagine how this guy could move so fast. He just felt that the aura in the air suddenly became thick. Although it was strange, he couldn't see through it. How could he see through the invisible elephant spell of heavens upon heavens? Swish! A cold light flashed below. Dongfang Yan couldn't dodge it, so he hurriedly turned sideways. But his abdomen had been cut open, and golden blood splashed out. He was so eager to kill Lin Muyu that he forgot the magic noise saber he had released before. Bastard! Dongfang Yan flew into a rage. He jumped up and cut the magic noise saber into 4 small pieces with his sword. But it didn't matter, because the magic noise saber was originally made up of 4 small magic noise sabers. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed his spiritual power. Suddenly, the 4 flying sabers spun in the air like a train and returned to the knife bag at his waist. At this time, Lin Muyu's breathing was quite rapid. Dongfang Yan's determined attack was resolved with a few small moves, but it wasn't something to be proud of because it also consumed a lot of his strength. On the contrary, Dongfang Yan's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. You surprised me. Dongfang Yan sneered. For tens of thousands of years, there have been many outstanding people in the 64 domains. I have seen many rare geniuses, but I have never met a peerless genius like you. I'm afraid there may not be one in 10,000 years. But your luck ends here. This world can't tolerate you living, and I can't tolerate you living in this world. As he said this, Dongfang Yan suddenly raised his hand, and a vast golden light shot up to the sky. Spirit Wheel. Chapter 1007. Lin Muyu had experienced the power of a divine wheel. Dongfang Yan's divine will might not be inferior to that of the radiant angel's eye. It was definitely twice as powerful as the demon emperor Nuslayer's divine wheel. After all, he was a perfected emperor god in the primordial mystery land. His body was strengthened by the spiritual power, and his divine power was purer and more vigorous. Moreover, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, and Ma Qilin were fighting behind Lin Muyu. Once Dongfang Yan's divine will swept across the sky, the consequences would be unimaginable. With a buzzing sound, a huge golden wheel opened up in the sky. Dongfang Yan was crazy. He would rather kill his own people to kill Lin Muyu. Brother Yu, Mu, be careful. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the same time. Then Xian raised her eyebrows and said, You have no other choice. Use your most powerful divine will to fight against him. Only a divine will can neutralize the power of a divine wheel. Shi Yan's words were undoubtedly like a decree that could not be disobeyed, because it was the most correct choice. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. His supreme lattice shone with a dazzling radiance. 12 spirit beads of law came out of his body and surrounded him. He slowly pointed the Xianyuan sword forward. A fist-sized golden divine wheel emerged from the tip of the sword, and became huge in the blink of an eye. As Lin Muyu concentrated his divine power, it continued to grow. In less than half a minute, it had already formed a huge wheel with a radius of at least 100 meters, facing Dongfang Yan's divine wheel from afar. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Lin Muyu was surrounded by an absolute domain that no one could enter. This domain protected the safety of the person using the divine wheel, and at the same time, it protected him from the impact of his own divine wheel. The huge golden roulette was like a bright mirror that reached the sky. It was bright, clear, and radiated in all directions. Not enough. Far from enough. Lin Muyu's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He was unprecedentedly serious. He drained the divine power in his body and poured it into his divine wheel. He knew that the strength and quantity of his divine power was inferior to Dongfang Yan, who was in the full circle realm. He could only fight against him if he was stronger. The divine will was a forbidden power. Even Xian had not used it too many times in her life. Firstly, the divine will was too destructive. Secondly, the backlash on the body was too severe. Dongfang Yan's use of the divine will meant that he was ready to risk his life. In fact, Dongfang Yan had already noticed during the battle with Lin Muyu. Many god kings and god emperors in the Raging Fire region had already been defeated by Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, and others. If he could not turn the tide, the Raging Fire region would be finished. You take the power of the martial soul. The martial soul is a gift from heaven and earth to the bloodline of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Hurry! Xian shouted. Lin Muyu frowned. Her long sword began to hum. The power of the 7 luminaries' holy gourd and the god-binding shackles rushed into the divine wheel. In the EC, the power of the god-binding shackles and the 7 luminaries' holy gourd were absorbed in the blink of an eye. The EC became dim, but the light of the divine wheel at least doubled. Sure enough, Xian was right. The power of 2 first-class martial souls could indeed increase the power of the divine will by a lot. Ah! Dongfang Yan let out a heart-wrenching roar. It was probably his first time using the divine wheel. His old face looked very ferocious under the strong wind. He looked at Lin Muyu with a pair of jealous and angry eyes and shouted, "Come on, let me see how powerful you, the marshal of the left army of the Eastern Heaven Realm, are. Go to hell." Boom. Dongfang Yan's divine will surged forward. Lin Muyu took the responsibility. Her arms shook slightly, and suddenly the Xianyuan sword made a buzzing sound and rushed towards Dongfang Yan's divine wheel with the sound of a tsunami. However, the size of Dongfang Yan's divine wheel was at least 1.5 times that of Lin Muyu. So it was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker. Most of the gods who were fighting had stopped and watched the collision of the 2 divine wheels with their mouths agape. For a moment, the sky lost its color and the earth shook. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 divine wheels exploded at the same time, forming a destructive hurricane. In an instant, all the plants on the mountains and the earth were quickly desolate and withered. Lin Muyu, who bore the brunt of the impact, let out a miserable howl. The dragon armor on the surface of his body peeled off inch by inch, and even dragon blood flowed out. In the blink of an eye, the Acatosaurus disintegrated his body and entered a different space to avoid the disaster. So disloyal. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword horizontally and concentrated the remaining divine power in the long sword to protect his master. At this time he could only resist the attack head-on. The power of the divine will sealed the surrounding area. Not to mention breaking the void, even the divine book of the law of space could not escape. Clap, clap, clap. The divine wall turned into golden energy armor and dissipated in the wind. The next moment, the fierce wind of the divine will cut through Lin Muyu's body, leaving deep wounds on his arms, chest, and legs. It was really scary, but Lin Muyu held the sword and continued to fly forward in pain. He had something he had to do: kill Dongfang Yan. If Dongfang Yan did not die, the war between the Dragon League and the Raging Fire territory would not be over. At the center of the collision of the divine wheels, no one could get in. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were so scared that their faces turned pale. They tried to charge at Lin Muyu several times, but they could not get close to him. They could only watch this crazy guy fly toward Dongfang Yan. Dongfang Yan's body was covered with blood. His white robe was no longer holy, but stained with blood. He looked even older. His blood vessels had even burst in order to activate the power of the divine wheel. It was a horrible sight to see, but his eyes were still filled with hatred and resentment when he looked at Lin Muyu. He wanted to kill Lin Muyu, just like Lin Muyu wanted to kill him. There could not be 2 tigers in one mountain. This was probably the feeling. In the south of the 64 regions, there could only be one king who could guard the whole region. Bastard! Dongfang Yan roared angrily. His left hand was facing Du, and his right hand was rainbow light, slashing toward Lin Muyu. But Lin Muyu just swung the Xianyuan sword. With 2 clangs, Dongfang Yan's swords were knocked away. Both of them had almost used up their divine power. The collision at this time was just a contest of mortal strength. At this time, Lin Muyu's advantage also showed. He was young, while Dongfang Yan was already an old god in the ancient mystery land. He had lived for thousands of years. According to the age of the gods in the ancient mystery land, he was about to die. How could an old god compare to a young and strong god like Lin Muyu? Puff! Dongfang Yan spat out a mouthful of blood. He waved his swords weakly and slashed again. He didn't even have the strength to control his swords. Lin Muyu swung his swords with both hands. With two clangs, Rainbow Light and Dew's flying swords were knocked away. Then he lifted his boot and kicked Dongfang Yan's abdomen. With a muffled sound, Dongfang Yan slid down from the sky. Behind him, the gods of the Raging Fire region were all stunned. No one had thought that Dongfang Yan, who was so powerful in the Raging Fire region, would end up in such a miserable state. Go to hell! Lin Muyu flew down from the sky, and the Xianyuan sword went straight for Dongfang Yan's neck. But Dongfang Yan seemed to have some strength left. He hurriedly dodged sideways. He dodged the attack on his neck, but failed to dodge the attack on his arm. With a crack, the Xianyuan sword was so sharp that it directly cut off one of Dongfang Yan's arms. Save the region master! Several gods of the Raging Fire region shouted, but most people stood there, dumbfounded. The invincible Dongfang Yan was defeated. To them this was like a fairy tale. How could Dongfang Yan be defeated? He was an invincible being. Protect Lin General. The power of the divine will had completely begun to fade. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi arrived at the scene immediately. They protected Lin Muyu from both sides, in case he was ambushed. Meanwhile, Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, and the others led the army of the Dragon League to attack Dongfang Yan. It seemed that they were going to devour the gods of the Raging Fire region. Lin Muyu looked straight at Dongfang Yan falling into the dark mountains. Her body trembled slightly, and she said, Don't let Dongfang Yan go. Bring his head to me. Yes, Lin General. Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, Luo Xintian, and the others rushed forward without a care for their own safety. The world was once again filled with colorful divine power. Lin Muyu's battle was over, but the battle of the Dragon League was not over yet. In this battle, they had to kill Dongfang Yan and capture the gods of the Raging Fire region. Otherwise, they would have fought a big battle for nothing. How are you? Qin Yin looked at Lin Muyu, who was covered in blood. She was scared out of her wits. I'm fine. Lin Muyu smiled, but she was in pain all over her body. Her face was covered in cold sweat. She held Qin Yin's shoulder with one hand to keep herself flying in the air. She said, Xiao Yin, stay here to protect me. Xiao Shi, Fuzhu, go and help them. The Dragon League needs your strength. Remember, don't kill people. Just injure them. Don't let them escape. The more the better. Okay. Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. Lin Muyu raised her hand and handed the Xianyuan sword to Shi Yin. She said, Can I borrow it for a while? Shi Yin shook her head and smiled. No need. I will stay here with Shi Yin to protect you. I don't want to kill too much. Okay. Lin Muyu also knew that Shi Yin had long been tired of the vendetta between the divine realm, so she did not make things difficult for her. She stood in the night sky with the two peerless beauties and watched the war of the Protoss. Colorful laws were colliding everywhere between the mountains and the wilderness. It was like watching a three-dimensional movie. It was extremely exciting. Dongfang Yan was defeated. Dongfang Jin was injured by Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin. Most of the 18 god emperors of the Raging Fire region had lost their ability to fight. The battle was over. The only variable was whether they could kill Dongfang Yan. As long as they could kill Dongfang Yan, the Raging Fire region would be completely eradicated. After all, the Raging Fire region was the territory of the Dongfang family. If they did not kill Dongfang Yan, they would be able to rise again. The battle lasted for nearly 6 hours. No one knew how many God Realm experts were lost or escaped in the deep mountains. Lin Muyu ordered them not to chase too far. When the sun rose in the east, the battle was over. Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, Feng Zhanhai, Luo Xintian and the others came back covered in blood, but their faces were full of smiles. Where is Dongfang Yan? Lin Muyu asked. He ran away. Then why are you guys laughing? Chapter 1008. The rays of the rising sun shone on the mountains. This unknown mountainous region was full of huge potholes, and a few mountaintops were even raised to the ground. The pothole caused by the spirit wheel was the largest, and it was like a huge basin. After this battle, the entire mountainous region looked like it had been hit by a meteor shower. There were people everywhere in the messy valley, including the wounded and those God Realm experts of the Raging Fire territory, who were captured because they didn't have time to escape. Use the soul-binding lock. Feng Zhanlin ordered loudly in the crowd. He coughed violently, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The battle was so intense that he vomited blood due to his severe injuries. Lord of the Feng territory, are you all right? Ma Qilin asked with a frown. I'm fine. Dongfang Jin's palm strength is indeed extraordinary. Feng Zhanlin laughed mockingly. If it wasn't for my Gangqi protection, I'm afraid that sneak attack of his would have killed me. Ma Qilin shook his head and laughed. However, the Raging Fire territory is finished. After this defeat, it will never be able to recover to its former glory. Yes. Lin Muyu brought Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi back to the ground. When they landed, they saw Feng Zhanlin and the others putting shackles on the hands of the injured God State experts of the Raging Fire territory, making it impossible for them to use their divine power, let alone their ability to break through the void. There were sharp thorns on each shackle. The thorns pierced into the skin but did not bleed. However, they blocked the flow of divine power. It was similar to the demonic heart arrow in the Shattered Cauldron realm, but much more cruel. These are the soul-binding lock? Lin Muyu asked. Yes, Lin General. Feng Zhanlin knew that he was not from the prehistoric mystery realm, and would not know. He said respectfully, the soul-binding lock is made of a special material that can poison the blood, making it impossible for the wearer to use divine power. The 64 domains have always used this method to imprison God State experts. Lin Muyu nodded. How many people were captured in this battle? Reporting to Lin General, we have captured 9 Emperor Gods, 140 Divine Kings, and more than 400 Ultimate Gods. In addition, we have killed 3 Emperor Gods, nearly 100 Divine Kings, and nearly 300 Ultimate Gods. After this battle, the Raging Fire region is almost completely annihilated. There are less than 100 people who escaped with Dongfang Yan. Please rest assured, Lin General. With that, Feng Zhanlin immersed himself in the morning light, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said with a smile, I didn't expect our Spirit Sparrow territory to have such achievements today. Destroying the Raging Fire territory is the long-cherished wish of our ancestors, and it has finally been realized in my generation. Thank you, Lin General, for letting me, Feng Zhanlin, fulfill my wish. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. This is what we both wanted. There's no need to thank me. We're already on the same side. Yes. Ma Qilin said respectfully. Lin General, we've revived a few hundred captives. What should we do now? Bring them back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle of the Dragon League, or? Lin Muyu thought for a while and asked. Dongfang Yan has been seriously injured and defeated, but he still has some strength. He probably doesn't have the guts to return to the territory castle of the Raging Fire region. Where do you think he will go? Well, Ma Qilin thought for a while and said, thousands of miles to the south of the 64 regions. There seems to be no place for Dongfang Yan except the Raging Fire region. After all, the Raging Fire region has been fighting with the other regions in the south for so many years. Not necessarily. A beautiful girl walked out from the crowd. It was Luo Xintian. She raised her eyebrows and said, as far as I know, not all of the 10 southern regions have been attacked by the Raging Fire region. For example, the Falling Star region in the southwest has never fought with the Raging Fire region. If I remember correctly, the region lord of the Falling Star region, Zhang Xian, is a friend of Dongfang Yan. It is said that Dongfang Yan once gave 10 beautiful concubines to Dongfang Yan, and Dongfang Yan gave hundreds of precious spirit fruit trees to Zhang Xian. The two families have never had any conflict. The Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin could not help but frown and said, this is a problem. How could I forget about the Falling Star region? Lin Muyu had seen the map of the 64 regions, and knew the location of the Falling Star region. She said, the Falling Star region is quite far from here. They won't be able to attack it in a short time. Region Lord Feng, how strong is the Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, Lin General, the Falling Star region has a total of 12 Emperor Gods, 200 divine kings, and more than 600 ultimate gods. It is one of the southern regions whose strength is second only to the Raging Fire region. If what Luo Xintian said is true, we may have to face a new opponent. It doesn't matter. We will rest for a while. Yes. Then, Ma Qilin said. What should we do with the domain castle of the Raging Fire region? It is the largest domain castle among the dozens of southern regions. It is more than twice the size of our Linghe castle. Lin Muyu smiled and said, It seems that we will have to change the domain castle again. All the divine realm experts of the Dragon League will move to the domain castle of the Raging Fire region. In addition, the domain castle of the Raging Fire region will be renamed Dragon City. It will be the capital of our Dragon League. From now on it will not change. Feng Zhanlin asked with a smile. No, I won't. Otherwise, I'm afraid all your spirit fruit trees will die if I transplant them again. Yes, Lin General is wise. They are my precious babies. Ha ha ha. In the afternoon, Lin Muyu led the team to the Raging Fire region. Just like the legends said, the city had been in operation for tens of thousands of years. It was like a towering giant. The city was inlaid with countless glittering stones. These stones contained sealing power, protecting the city from the erosion of wind and sun, and from the attacks of wild animals. With a rumbling sound, the city gate was opened. After knowing that the divine realm experts of the Raging Fire region were almost wiped out, the servant army in the city had already announced their surrender to the Dragon League. These servant army were very smart. They knew that they were just vassals. It did not matter who they followed. What mattered was that they could survive. After entering the city, before dusk, the name of the city was changed to Dragon City. Feng Zhanlin personally carved the words Dragon League on a 10-meter-high rock. He used hundreds of divine realm experts to insert the rock into the open space outside the city to show the majesty of the Dragon League. After that, the next thing to do was ideological work. They had to turn the captives of the Raging Fire region into members of the Dragon League as soon as possible. This ideological work was actually very simple. First of all, Lin Muyu, who had been in the mortal world for more than 10 years, was a king and a commander-in-chief, was simply too good at it. Secondly, Xiyin used her identity as a seraph to win the hearts of some divine realm experts, who would want to be enemies with a seraph. More importantly, Lin Muyu single-handedly defeated Dongfang Yan. This was seen by everyone. Lin Muyu's divine will was even comparable to Dongfang Yan's divine will. This was more important than anything else. The primordial mystery land admired the strong. Lin Muyu defeated Dongfang Yan and was easygoing. Soon, she established an image of a hero in the hearts of the divine realm experts of the Dragon League. The 64 regions fought every year and needed such a hero who had the personality of a sovereign and could decide the world with one sword. Just think about it. A god emperor with a supreme disposition, wielding the peerless divine weapon, the Xianyuan sword, and the identity of the left army marshal of the Eastern Heaven Realm. If he didn't pledge his loyalty to such a person, who else could he pledge his loyalty to? Compared to Lin Muyu, Dongfang Yan, Wu Feng, and the others were simply wild gods that had wandered about in the primordial era. They weren't even worth mentioning. In less than 3 days, the hundreds of god realm experts of the Raging Fire territory, who were resurrected in the Battle of the Nameless Valley, had almost all pledged their loyalty, except for a few people with the surname Dongfang. And they were imprisoned in the dungeon deep within Dragon City. Late at night, the sky was filled with stars. The huge ice crystals in the sky above Dragon City were incomparably clear, unexpectedly not obstructing the light of the stars in the slightest. On the streets, rows of servants slowly walked by with weapons in their hands. The Dragon League's night patrols were extraordinarily strict. Lin Muyu walked on the stone path, thinking about the fallen star domain. As she walked, a person appeared in front of her. He was wearing a black robe. Who is it? Without another word, the black-robed man fled. Stop! There was no reason for Lin Muyu to let him go. She rushed forward with vigorous steps. She didn't even have time to unsheath the Xianyuan sword, so she directly used her palm as a knife and slashed out the first appearance of starlight. The black-robed man knew that he couldn't escape, so he hurriedly turned around and raised his fist to meet it. Wisps of flames rushed toward his face, and with a bang, his fist collided with Lin Muyu's palm knife. Suddenly, a strong counterforce came. Huh! Lin Muyu was shocked. This person was also an emperor god, and his cultivation was not low. Leaping over, Lin Muyu kicked in the air without any hesitation. There was a fierce storm around her ankle, which was the power of the three luminaries all calamity. The black-robed man couldn't dodge, so he could only raise his arms to block with his fists. Bang! With a muffled sound in the middle of the night, the nearby servant army seemed to be attracted. Many people raised their weapons and shouted, "Who is it? Stop! How dare you fight with Lin General? Don't come over!" Lin Muyu raised her arm to signal the servant army not to come over. This group of people would also die if they came over, so there was no need to let them be cannon fodder. Looking coldly at the masked black-robed man, Lin Muyu raised her hand and slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. It was time to get serious. But at the moment when the Xianyuan sword was unsheathed, the black-robed man smiled bitterly and reached out to pull down the black cloth covering his face. He said, "Lin General, stop fighting. It's me. I admit defeat. You. Feng Zhanlin." Lin Muyu turned pale with fright. The person who sneaked into the streets of Dragon City in the middle of the night was actually Feng Zhanlin. You came out of the dungeon in the middle of the night. What's going on?" Lin Muyu asked. Feng Zhanlin smiled helplessly. "To do something that Lin General doesn't want to do. What is it?" Feng Zhanlin raised his hand and took out a pile of sparkling godhoods that looked like gems. He said indifferently, "The godhoods of Dongfang Sun, Dongfang Gu, Dongfang Zue, Dongfang Yao, and Dongfang Mei were all forcibly extracted by this subordinate. I know it's cruel, but it's best for Dragon City to turn these people into useless people. Otherwise, they will always be a hidden danger to the Dragon League if they stay in Dragon City. 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an ant's nest. Lin General should understand this better than this subordinate." Chapter 1009. Feng Zhanlin was a resolute and decisive person. Lin Muyu was not surprised that he would do such a thing. Instead, she felt that it was within her expectations. However, her order not to kill the 5 captives of the Dongfang family seemed to have put Feng Zhanlin in a difficult position, forcing the region lord of the Spirit Sparrow region to do such a thing in secret. For a moment, Lin Muyu had mixed feelings. After the Xianyuan sword was sheathed, Lin Muyu said helplessly, "Region Lord Feng, did I really do something wrong?" Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly. "No, this subordinate has long heard from Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi about what happened to Lin General in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Lin General is a benevolent general, so it is natural that he does not want to kill captives. However, I, Lin General Zhanlin, am not. Therefore, I am the one who did this. Rest assured, the 5 Dongfang family are not dead. This subordinate only took their godheads. They are only mortals now and no longer a threat to us. If Lin General Zhanlin feels that this subordinate has overstepped his authority, I, Feng Zhanlin, am willing to accept any punishment." "Forget it. What punishment is there to mention?" Lin Muyu waved her hand lightly. "Let the 5 of them out of the city tomorrow morning. Give them food and water. Whether they live or die is up to them." "Yes, the subordinate understands." Feng Zhanlin smiled cheerfully. "Is there any news from the Sky Foothill region?" "There is." Feng Zhanlin said. "The servant army of the Sky Foothill region has been subdued by Wu Feng and his son. The entire domain castle of the Sky Foothill region has become the territory of Wu Feng and his son. It is said that Wu Su slept with 2 of Machi Lin's concubines last night." "Ah." Lin Muyu was a little confused. Feng Zhanlin suddenly smiled. However, Lin General Zhanlin does not need to feel surprised. In our prehistoric secret realm, women are like clothes. They can be worn and taken off at will. Wu Su sleeping with Machi region lord's woman for revenge is expected. That is what a despicable person like Wu Su would do. But how should we decide? Let's finish this quickly. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "Tomorrow morning, pick 100 experts from the Dragon League to fly with me to Sky Foothill region. We must be fast. I want to uproot the remnants of the Golden Dragon region. Yes, this subordinate obeys. In the early morning of the next day, before the sky brightened, the sound of cooking came from the side hall of Dragon City. The kitchen had already started working. Lin Muyu and the others also woke up early. After eating and drinking their fill, they went straight to Sky Foothill region. When the first ray of sunlight pierced through the clouds, they saw streams of light flying into the distance. The 100 people chosen by Feng Zhanlin were all experts, at least Divine King level. The current Dragon League was no longer the same as before. It had a total of 32 Divine Emperors and more than 300 Divine Kings. They could bring out such a frightening lineup. Even if they chose 100 top experts to attack Sky Foothill region, the strength left behind to defend Imperial Dragon City was still not to be underestimated. Before noon, they arrived at Sky Foothill region. Under Lin Muyu's orders, dozens of Divine Kings spread out and blocked the exit of Sky Foothill region. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi went straight to the city gate. Even if they did not shout for the city gate, the people in the castle probably would not open it. Lin General, forcefully breaking through? Machi Lin asked. His eyes were burning. After hearing that his concubine was slept with by Wuxia, he was already furious. Yes. Lin Muyu leaped forward and unsheathed the Xianyuan sword at lightning speed. The chaos of the common people blasted open the city gate, as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Everyone rushed in immediately. Even the servant army guards on the city wall did not have time to react. The Celestial Foothill Domain's domain castle was not big. When they arrived at the palace, they saw an ultimate god hurriedly flying in with a weapon in his hand. The person looked familiar as he was the defeated general that Wu Feng and Wuxia brought from the Golden Dragon domain. Courting death. Machi Lin roared and slashed with his sword. Blood splattered in the air. That divine venerable was killed in one slash. Lin Muyu released the spiritual pulse technique and quickly found the location of Wu Feng and Wuxia. They were at the bedchamber. It seemed that they did not expect their group to come so quickly. It was so fast that they had nowhere to hide. The invisible elephant technique quickly spread out and sealed all the broken void passages. The next moment, Lin Muyu stood proudly in the air with dozens of emperor gods and divine kings. She looked at the small courtyard of the bedchamber and shouted in a clear voice, "Wu Feng, Wuxia, come out!" There were many guards in the courtyard, but they did not dare to say anything when they saw so many divine realm experts. Finally, the gold-plated door creaked open, and Wuxia walked out in a disheveled manner, holding a long sword in her hand. She looked at the sky nervously, and her eyes were filled with despair. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, Machi Lin, and the others were all here, and their deaths were near. How could this be? He took a step back and fell on the wall. He murmured, "Didn't the people from Luoxing Domain say that they want to attack the Dragon League? Why did these treacherous people give the Dragon League a chance to breathe?" Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Wuxia, I told you to be a good person. Why are you still so ungrateful? Come, I'll give you a chance today. If you can take one strike from me, I'll let you live. How about it?" Wuxia was stunned. Then he laughed wildly in joy. "Lin Muyu, you are the leader of the Dragon League. You can't go back on your words in front of so many people. If I can take one strike from you, you have to let me go. Come, come, come." Through his spirit pulse technique, he could clearly sense that Wuxia's cultivation had stagnated. Half a year ago, Wuxia was at the 60th Grotto Heaven stage, and it was still the same even now. On the other hand, Lin Muyu had been cultivating hard in the Cave of Gods and Demons for half a year, and had ascended to the 69th Grotto Heaven stage. In terms of divine power, he was at least 2 to 3 times stronger than Wuxia. What could he use to block his attack? "Lin General." Machi Lin was stunned and said, "Lin General, you have to be careful." "Of course I will be careful." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Region Lord Machi, we already have Dragon City. This palace in the Celestial Foothill region. It's fine if I destroy it, right?" "Yes, it's fine. Lin General can do whatever he wants. Do whatever I want." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "I like those words." Feng Zhanlin touched his nose and said, Is it worth being so happy about? Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked at each other and smiled. They could truly understand Lin Muyu's thoughts. After so many years in the Shattered Cauldron realm, Lin Muyu had always been prudent and steady. For the sake of the big picture, she would even be held back by some petty people. But now it was different. In the primordial mystery realm, everyone was a god. It was a battle of strength. No one owed anyone anything. So, at this moment, Lin Muyu could truly do whatever she wanted. This was probably a gift from the God Emperor. Only when one had absolute strength could they say these words. Wuxia seemed to be a little excited, but she was more nervous. She held her sword and began to release her divine power. At this moment, the side door opened slowly. It was the old region lord Wu Feng. Looking at Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, and the others in the air, Wu Feng seemed to have understood everything. He said calmly, "Suer, use your strongest power. Don't let them look down on the martial arts of the Golden Dragon realm." "Yes, father. I understand." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said in a clear voice, "The women in the courtyard leave. This is none of your business. Don't throw your lives away. It's not worth it." Inside the room, a dozen women in disheveled clothes were fleeing along the corridor. Among them, there was a yellow-robed woman who was very beautiful. Ma Qilin looked at her with a pained expression and muttered, "Xiaoli, you actually betrayed me." Feng Zhanlin burst into laughter. Ma Qilin quickly punched him and said, "Feng Zhanlin, you bastard. How can you laugh at me at a time like this? Do you know how much my heart hurts?" Feng Zhanlin laughed loudly and said, "Motherf asterisk cur. Whoever is serious loses. Old Lin, you idiot." Motherf asterisk cur. In the air, Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xian Yuan sword. Suddenly, she raised the sword with both hands. Suddenly, the aura seemed to freeze. The scorching sun in the sky suddenly darkened, as if all the light had gathered on the Xian Yuan sword. It was still the shapeless elephant spell, borrowing the power of the sun, moon, mountains, and rivers. When the sky darkened, one could vaguely see the light of the stars. The light of the stars fell down and gathered in Lin Muyu's body, causing the Xian Yuan sword to vibrate even more violently. At this moment, Wu Feng's face darkened. He did not expect Lin Muyu's power to increase to such a level in such a short time. Even he might not be able to withstand this blow, let alone his son who was addicted to wine and women. "Die." Lin Muyu slowly spat out a word. The light of the sword instantly pierced through the ground. The entire Sky Foothill region's domain castle shook violently. Wuxia looked at the countless stars falling from the sky blankly. He had never seen such a powerful martial art like the Seven Glorious Stars transformation. He did not know how to block it. The divine power he condensed was like an egg hitting a rock. There was no need to block it at all. Boom, boom, boom. Under everyone's gaze, Wuxia's body was torn apart like a broken leaf. There were countless holes in his body. The blood that flowed out was instantly evaporated. The ground shook violently. The entire courtyard turned into ruins. A pitch-black hole appeared on the ground. There were only sporadic flying lights left in the air. Those were the fragments of Wuxia's divine spark. They were very small and indestructible. "My son." Wu Feng's tears flowed down. He looked at Lin Muyu and the others and said, You kill for power and status. How can you be worthy of being gods? You are not gods. You are demons." Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. She said each word sonorously. "Old Region Lord, you are an elder and should be respected by us. But you allowed Wuxia to defile other people's wives and concubines. You did all sorts of things. So according to the law, you should be beheaded. You said that we kill for power and status. We are not worthy of being gods. But what about you? You are a real evil person. Evil people should be treated with evil methods. So go to hell. I will do whatever I want today." As she spoke, the Xianyuan sword suddenly hummed. Lin Muyu controlled the law of flames and suddenly threw the Xianyuan sword out. Under the control of the imperial sword technique, the sharp sword went straight towards Wu Feng. Wu Feng hurriedly waved his palm to form a shield, but how could he block it? With a bang, he was blasted by the Xianyuan sword, and he fell in a sorry state amidst a broken wall. Lin Muyu withdrew the Xianyuan sword from afar. His eyes turned cold. He said, Feng Zhanlin Machi Lin go. Bring Wu Feng's head to me. Yes, Lin General. Lin Muyu did not attack again. He had his own principles. He would not beat the old. Chapter 10:10. Lightning and flames clashed. In less than 10 moves, the outcome of the battle was decided. Wu Feng wasn't a match for Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin, let alone the two of them working together. Feng Zhanlin carried Wu Feng's bloody head and a godhead as he flew into the air. The head was still dripping with blood. He said respectfully, Lin General, Wu Feng is dead. Lin Muyu glanced at Wu Feng's head. Although this old fellow wasn't a good person, as the ruler of a region, it was a pity that he ended up like this. She said, send his and Wu Su's corpses back to the Golden Dragon region to be buried. Yes. Feng Zhanlin was a bit troubled. Wu Feng's corpse is still there, but Wu Su, he was already blasted into pieces by Lin General. There's no way to find his corpse. Forget it then. Let's bury Wu Feng. As for Wu Su, let him return to ashes and dust to dust. Ma Qilin, you're in charge of comforting the servants in the Sky Foothill region. If possible, bring them back to Dragon City. Yes, Lin General. This subordinate understands. Ma Qilin nodded. Lin Muyu looked at the ruins of the palace and couldn't help but feel a bit lost. She glanced at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi beside her and laughed self-mockingly. I've only been here for less than a year, and I've already turned this place upside down. Isn't that bad? Qin Yin smiled. Even if you didn't come, there would still be years of war here. It's just that our intervention broke the balance. Tang Xiaoxi blinked. It's all right. Mu, do what you want to do. We'll all support you. That's good. After everyone cleaned up for a while, Feng Zhanlin came back and said respectfully, Lin General, this subordinate has a suggestion. Wind Region Lord, please speak. Since our Dragon League has already conquered the Raging Fire region, we should announce the establishment of the Dragon League to the world. Otherwise, I'm afraid our position won't be recognized by the other powers. The Primordial Mystery Land has always had this rule. Every newly established region will announce it to the world, hold a grand ceremony, and invite all the major powers to attend. Holding a grand ceremony? Yes, it's a ceremony for the official establishment of our Dragon League. Feng Zhanlin smirked. That's good. Let's show the strength of our Dragon League to the other forces in the 64 domains. This way, those who have designs on the Dragon League will have to think twice. All right. What do you plan to do, Wind Region Lord? A month later, the founding ceremony of the Dragon League will be held in Dragon City. Let's go back to Dragon City now to write invitations and send them to all the forces in the 64 domains. Those who are willing to come can come, and those who are not can come. We can take this opportunity to make friends with the other forces in the 64 domains. In this way, if Dongfang Yan attacks with the Falling Star Field, he will also face pressure from the other forces. Alright, let's do that. Yes. Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin both agreed with this decision. After returning to Dragon City, they each sent people to write invitations and prepare all kinds of materials for the ceremony. Fortunately, the castle in the Raging Fire region was the largest castle in the south, and the palace was extremely magnificent. It would not be shabby to hold a grand ceremony. This was to announce the existence of the Dragon League to the world. Although it was high profile, it was not a bad thing. Within a month, Lin Muyu continued to silently cultivate with the beauties in the Cave of Gods and Demons, but he still could not break through to the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. He had been stuck here for a month, which made him very anxious. In the middle of the night, it was cold in the Cave of Gods and Demons. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin sat together quietly. Their powers seemed to be connected together. Fire and light were very similar. Fire produced light and heat, and one of the characteristics of light was fire. Therefore, under Shi Yan's suggestion, the two of them cultivated together. Qin Yin practiced the 7 cuts heart technique taught by Shi Yan, while Tang Xiaoxi practiced the Great Fire technique. The two completely different mental cultivation methods could complement each other and get twice the result with half the effort. This was jokingly called dual cultivation by Xian. Under the interweaving of fire and light, the two beautiful girls looked calm and peaceful. Even their snow-white faces and skin looked crystal clear. Their strength was increasing day by day, and the speed of their improvement was much faster than Lin Muyu's. On the other hand, Lin Muyu, who was a few meters away, was not so relaxed. Rays of light from the spirit beads of law lingered around him, and the divine power cyclones danced chaotically, making it impossible for others to get close. At this moment, he activated the vigorous divine power in his body and began to break through to the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. Success or failure depended on this one move. The blazing light kept jumping, so much so that Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Xian stopped their own cultivation. The three pairs of beautiful eyes stared in Lin Muyu's direction, cheering him on from the bottom of their hearts. The collision of powers in his body caused Lin Muyu's body to tremble slightly. His face was covered in sweat, and his brows were tightly furrowed. It was obvious that he was not feeling well at this moment. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi opened their beautiful eyes wide, but they did not dare to speak, afraid that they would disturb him. Just like that, the stalemate lasted for nearly half an hour. Finally, Lin Muyu suddenly raised his head and spat out a mouthful of turbid air that carried a hot aura. The surface of his body was covered with a sparkling and translucent luster, and his entire body seemed to be glowing. "You broke through?" Qin Yin asked with a smile. "Yes." Lin Muyu opened his eyes. A pair of clear eyes flickered with a strange light. Suddenly the corner of his mouth raised, and he said with a smile, "Someone is coming." "Someone?" Tang Xiaoxi carefully sensed and muttered. "No, they will come in about 2 hours." Lin Muyu said. "Impossible, your spirit pulse technique has already sensed so far?" Tang Xiaoxi asked foolishly. Qin Yin could not help but smile. It shouldn't be the spirit pulse technique, but the ability of the 70th level of the Grotto Heaven. "Xiaoxi, you and I have not comprehended the ability." "Oh," on the side Xian smiled. "It seems that you has indeed obtained a new ability. Premonition. This is the reverse ability of the samsara wheel, able to foresee some things in advance. This ability is very rare, and even I did not obtain it. In the entire Western Divine Realm, only a few God-state overlords such as Eva and Li Fei were lucky enough to obtain it." "I don't know if it is accurate," Lin Muyu said. "It is just a sudden thought in my mind." "You will know in a while." "Yes." Sure enough, after nearly an hour, a rustling sound came from outside the cave of gods and demons. Not long after, they saw Feng Zhanlin, who was shivering from the cold, fly into the cave of gods and demons. He used his divine power to resist the cold, and said while shivering, "Lin General, you are all here." "Lord Feng, what is it?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Lin General, have you forgotten? Tomorrow is the day of the Dragon Alliance's founding ceremony. It will start in the morning and end in the afternoon. Right now, you can see envoys from the other powers of the 64 domains everywhere in Dragon City. There are even some domain lords who came. Machi Lin and I have been working hard to attend to them, but Marshal Lin is here cultivating with a beauty." He said this with a bit of resentment. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. "All right, I got it. We will return to Dragon City with you immediately." Yes. They quickly left the cave of gods and demons. As they flew in the air, Lin Muyu asked, "Which forces have come now?" Feng Zhanlin looked a bit excited. "Almost all of them have come. The most powerful domain lords of the northern region, the Gale domain, the eastern region, the Mystic Heaven domain, and the western region, the Fiery Lion domain, have come in person. Even the most powerful domain lord of the middle region, the Devouring Heaven domain, has sent a deputy domain lord. This time, the forces of the 64 domains have given our Dragon League enough face." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "It may not be a good thing. I am afraid that the news of me possessing a supreme personality has already reached the ears of the major forces. They may not have come to Dragon City to congratulate me, but to divide the spoils. Lord Feng, you are familiar with some of these forces." We can pay them a visit and build a good relationship first. Well, Feng Zhanlin smiled and said, I know almost all of the realm masters of the major forces, but I don't have a good relationship with many of them. Nangong Lai, the realm master of the realm of mystic heaven, is the closest to me. He's a straightforward man, and I've been drinking with him many times. The realm of mystic heaven is the most powerful realm in the eastern region, so it's worth making friends with. Alright, we will go back and pay a visit to Nangong Lai right now. Yes. At night, the stars were dim. Dragon City was like a towering giant standing on the earth. Looking from afar, one could see the city was brightly lit. Tomorrow was a big day for Dragon City, and also Lin Muyu's big day in this plane. The 100 Flowers restaurant was the most popular restaurant in Dragon City. Although it was called the 100 Flowers restaurant, in fact, it was not a place to drink with prostitutes. On the second floor of the guest room, guards with swords and sabers guarded the corridor. They all had the same insignia on their shoulders. The insignia of the Mystic Heaven domain. None of these guards were mortals. Even the weakest one was at the God King realm. Seeing Feng Zhanlin, one of them smiled and said, Lord Feng, you are here? Yes, I have brought the leader of the Dragon League to pay a visit to Lord Nangong Lai. The Lord is drinking. Please come in. Thank you. In the guest room hall, a man was leaning against the wall with a wine pot in his hand. He looked to be in his 30s and had a handsome face. On the table was a dazzling longsword. When he saw Feng Zhanlin, he immediately smiled. I thought I was going to drink alone today. My old friend is here. Come, come, let's drink to our heart's content. Feng Zhanlin was a bit embarrassed. Are you drunk, Lord Nangong? I have brought Lin General here. Oh. Nangong Lai was a bit surprised, and the drunkenness on his face faded a bit. He looked at Lin Muyu and felt that the young man in front of him was calm and composed. You are Lin Muyu? Nangong Lai was a bit surprised. What, don't I look like me? Lin Muyu was surprised. Nangong Lai smiled. Forgive me for being frank, you don't look that powerful. At least, you don't look like someone who can defeat Dongfang Yan alone. However, since you regard Feng Zhanlin as your brother, and Feng Zhanlin is my brother, then you are also my brother. Don't worry about your cultivation. Drink 2 jars of wine first. A hero can hold his liquor. Lin Muyu immediately let down her guard. Just as Feng Zhanlin said, Nangong Lai was a straightforward person. This kind of person was worth befriending. She sat down and called Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan to accompany her. Nangong Lai turned a blind eye to the beauties and raised his hand. Let's make this clear. We will drink 1 bowl at a time. Whoever uses divine power to neutralize the alcohol is a coward. Do you dare? Lin Muyu was stunned, then smiled. Come on. Good, good. Chapter 10-11. The wine in the 64 domains was even stronger than the wine in the Shattered Cauldron realm. As soon as the wine entered their stomachs, they felt as if a ball of fire was burning in their stomachs. Furthermore, Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, and Nangong Lai were not allowed to use their divine power to evaporate the alcohol. Therefore, after drinking a bowl of wine, the 3 of them looked at each other, and then burst into laughter. Waiter, serve the dishes. Serve another table. Nangong Lai said excitedly. The Mystic Heaven realm was indeed rich. After drinking 3 bowls of wine, Feng Zhanlin's face was already red. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, maintained her composure. When the Tianji Empire attacked the Lingdong province, it was winter. At that time, Lin Muyu supported the whole situation by herself. Moreover, Qin Yin was not by her side, so she drank every day. Her tolerance for alcohol had long been trained, and she was even better than Feng Zhanlin. After drinking 6 bowls of wine in a row, Feng Zhanlin was already on the verge of collapsing. He grabbed a chicken leg and danced with joy. Nangong Lai, however, looked at Lin Muyu with a pair of fierce eyes and said with a smile, Are you okay? Yes. Lin Muyu wiped the sweat on her forehead. This was not drinking, this was simply playing with one's life. Fortunately, everyone's physique had long been tempered to be immune to all poisons. Otherwise, they would really die from alcohol poisoning. But at this moment, Nangonglai suddenly changed the topic. He smiled and said, Lin General, since you are from the East Heaven realm, why do you want to establish a force like the Dragon League in the 64 domains? You should know that the 64 domains have reached a balance, like a calm lake. But the appearance of the Dragon League is like throwing a heavy stone into the lake. Lin Wuyu touched her nose and looked at Nangonglai. She said, Do you want to hear the truth, or the polite words? Let's be polite first. The major forces of the 64 domains have been at war for many years, and many people have died. The only way to change this situation is to unite. That's why I established the Dragon League. I just want to find a shelter for all the people who join the Dragon League. Sure enough, you're being polite. What about the truth? Lin Wuyu waved her hand. It's very simple. I don't want to be bullied by anyone in the 64 domains, so I established the Dragon League. Whoever dares to provoke me, I will destroy them. Ha ha. Nangonglai laughed out loud and gave Lin Wuyu a thumbs up. Straightforward, true temperament. Come, let's drink another bowl. Feng Zhanlin, this grandson is about to die. At the side, Feng Zhanlin was already shaking his hand. I can't, let me rest for a while. Lin Wuyu clinked bowls with Nangonglai, and the 2 bowls of liquor were drained in one gulp. Nangonglai's face was flushed, as if he hadn't been so happy for a long time. In the mystic heaven realm, he was a supreme ruler, and no one dared to talk to him like this. But here, Lin Wuyu and Feng Zhanlin were both on equal footing with him, whether it was in terms of strength or experience, so it went without saying that 1,000 cups was not enough for a bosom friend. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan sat at another table, minding their own business and eating supper, too lazy to care about what was going on. The only thing they had to do was to bring the drunk Lin Wuyu back. Nothing else was important, as she wouldn't die from drinking too much. No one had ever heard of a god emperor expert dying from drinking too much. The table didn't disperse until midnight. Lin Wuyu's face was flushed, and she walked out of the guest room with the help of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Feng Zhanlin, on the other hand, staggered and walked out with the help of the wall. He looked at Shi Yan, as if asking for help, hoping that Shi Yan could help him. To his surprise, Shi Yan didn't even look at him, and left with Qin Yin, minding her own business. Wah! Feng Zhanlin vomited, and it felt so good. After walking out of the restaurant and onto the street, Lin Wuyu slowly pushed away Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's hands, and said, I can do it now. As he said that, he shook his arms lightly, and the supreme divine power in his body surged, quickly evaporating the alcohol in his body. Almost every inch of his skin was covered in faint red alcohol flames, and his whole body seemed to be covered in clouds. It was a spectacular sight. In just a few seconds, his complexion had returned to normal, and he smiled playfully. Oh, it's so good to be a god emperor. You can drink 1,000 cups without collapsing. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were speechless, while Shi Yan giggled. Behind him, Feng Zhanlin was also a god emperor, but his control of power didn't seem to reach Lin Wuyu's level. He vomited again, then chased after him, and said, Lin General, I have something to say. What's wrong, Win Territory Lord? I vomited everything I just ate. Let's find another place to eat supper. Oh right, Lin General, did you notice the last sentence that Nangonglai said? Oh, Lin Wuyu stopped on the street in the night, and asked in surprise, what did Nangonglai say to be careful on the road? No, Nangonglai's last sentence was to be extra careful tomorrow. Careful of what? Imperial battle. What's imperial battle? Lin Wuyu was stunned. Feng Zhanlin frowned, and said, Imperial battle is a rule that has been passed down in the 64 domains for thousands of years. When a new force is born, to gain the recognition of all the forces, it must accept challenges from the experts of the major forces in a grand ceremony. Those who do not lose within 30 minutes will be recognized as one of the 64 domains. It's precisely because of this rule that there hasn't been a new force in the past 300 years. I'm only worried that the major domains will make things difficult for us tomorrow. If they insist on imperial battle, then I'll do it. Lin Wuyu took a deep breath, and didn't say anything. How can there be such an unreasonable rule? Tang Xiaoxi was a little indignant. Qinin also frowned and said, "That's right, isn't this a tag battle? It's too unfair." Lin Muyu thought to herself, "If you've seen Yi Wen, you wouldn't have said that." Feng Zhanlin said, "We have to accept it even if it's unfair. This is a rule that has been passed down in the 64 domains for thousands of years. Lin General, what do you think?" "I'll do it." Lin Muyu looked up at the bright moon in the sky and said, "If we refuse the imperial battle, I'm afraid the other forces will look down on us. Since the purpose of the grand ceremony is to show off our strength, we must not refuse the imperial battle tomorrow. I'll do it, and there's no need to argue anymore. Unless Feng Zhanlin, you think you can beat me, then you go." Feng Zhanlin nodded and didn't say anything. His strength was above Lin Muyu, but he didn't have absolute confidence in winning. After all, Lin Muyu could defeat Dong Fengyan, but Feng Zhanlin couldn't. "You've really decided?" Qinin asked. "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and smiled brightly. "I just broke through to the 70th level of Grotto Heaven today, and I'm feeling a little inflated." Qinin. The next morning, the sound of drums filled the sky in Dragon City. Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin had already gone to welcome the guests, and the open space in front of the Dragon City's main hall was where the grand ceremony would be held. Dragon City had plenty of money, and the venue was surrounded by a forest of guards. Just for the preparation of the ceremony, there were more than 20,000 pots of chrysanthemums. Maids in long dresses walked by, holding exquisite lanterns in their hands. The lanterns in their hands were everlasting lanterns, symbolizing that the Dragon League would never be extinguished. The representatives of the major forces entered in order, and as the true master of the Dragon League, Lin Muyu stood at the seat of honor. She cupped her hands and bowed to each person who entered. Du Xing, the domain lord of the Gale region, had a wretched appearance and was extremely skinny. Zhuang Fei, the domain lord of the Fire Lion region, had an arrogant look on his face. The Fire Lion region was full of talents, and in terms of strength, they were not weaker than the Dragon League. As for the strongest of the 64 regions, the Heaven-Devouring region, the domain lord did not come, but the deputy domain lord, Zhao Qian, came. Zhao Qian looked very young, only in his 20s. He wore a soft armor, and with a faint smile on his face he walked forward, and his eyes lingered on Lin Muyu for a while, and said with a smile, "The Heaven-Devouring region congratulates the Dragon League, and this is our gift." A large chest of gold and silver, and a large chest of precious spirit fruits, was nothing difficult. Lin Muyu nodded cheerfully, and invited Zhao Qian and the others to take a seat. Soon the ceremony began. Feng Zhanlin read the rules of the Dragon League, and over 1,000 immortal state warriors of the Dragon League flew up and formed a forest in the sky. It was a spectacular scene. Just as Feng Zhanlin finished reading the rules, an old man among the guests slowly stood up. He was the domain lord of a northern region, and with a strange smile he said, "Alliance leader Lin Muyu is young and promising, truly admirable. However, the ancient mystery land has its own rules, and we cannot break them. However, we do not agree with Keijan." Lin Muyu smiled coldly. As expected, it had come. What was meant to come couldn't be stopped. The other domain lords also stood up. "Yes, but we cannot agree with Keijan." They all looked at the people from the Heaven-Devouring region. Zhao Qian slowly stood up from his seat and said with a smile, "Since it is a rule, we will naturally follow it. Alliance leader Lin, do you know the rules of Keijan?" "Yes." Lin Muyu said indifferently. Deputy Domain Lord Zhao also hopes that the Dragon League will accept Keijan's challenge here today. "It is not that I hope, but that is the rule." Zhao Qian cupped his hands and said, "Please forgive me." The group of domain lords all nodded as if they had discussed this beforehand. Clearly, they had discussed this beforehand. It would not be easy for the Dragon League to establish a foothold in this region. In the end, the godly state experts of the Dragon League all looked at Lin Muyu. If the Dragon League refused to accept Keijan's challenge now, it would probably disappoint many people. Fear was the most shameful mentality of cultivators. Lin Muyu took a deep breath, raised her hand and said, "Move away and prepare the incense." The platform in the center of the hall was immediately cleared. Feng Zhanlin held a stick of incense and walked to the side of the hall, lighting it in front of everyone. Clang! The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed, and Lin Muyu landed on the platform in the center of the hall. She said, "The incense has been lit. I, Lin Muyu, will accept the challenge here. May I know who will be first?" The corner of Zhao Qian's mouth rose. He sat there quietly, and did not say anything. Nangong Lai crossed his arms, and his face was full of admiration. "Friends of mine, Nangong Lai have guts." The group of domain lords looked at each other, and no one wanted to go first. However, there were still people who wanted to go first. After all, Lin Muyu's cultivation did not seem to have reached the grand perfection God-Emperor realm. Even though the sword in her hand was powerful, she herself might not be that powerful. "I will go first." In the crowd, a domain lord holding an axe stood up. His face was full of muscles, and he laughed. "I am the domain lord of the Wind Spirit region, Liang Feng. People call me Mad Liang. I am here to experience your skills." Chapter 10-12. The Wind Spirit region was the smallest of the 15 eastern regions, and it was relatively weak. That was why the region lord, Liang Feng, was the first to fight. If he could defeat Lin Muyu, the leader of the Dragon League, he would at least make a name for the Wind Spirit region. In the future, Liang Feng might be able to attract many God State experts to join the Wind Spirit region. The axe was surrounded by flames. Crazy Liang cultivated the law of fire, just like his fiery temper. However, people like him usually wouldn't survive more than 3 episodes in a TV series. Lin Muyu looked straight at Crazy Liang. Using the spirit pulse technique, she could sense that Crazy Liang's power was divided into 81 layers. This meant that Crazy Liang was an emperor god with 81 layers of grotto heaven. His comprehension of the law wasn't too strong, which also meant that Crazy Liang wouldn't be too strong. However, the rule of the imperial battle was that the leader of the new force must not be defeated within 30 minutes. Therefore, there was no need for Lin Muyu to defeat an opponent like Crazy Liang too quickly. Below the stage, the person that Lin Muyu was most afraid of was the deputy region lord of the heaven-devouring region, Zhao Qian. Among everyone, only Zhao Qian couldn't be seen through by Lin Muyu at all. This kind of person was the most difficult to deal with. "Leader Lin, please enlighten me." Madman Liang gripped the battle axe with both hands and wore a vicious smile on his face. "Since you've just arrived here, I'm sure you don't know how difficult it is to establish a sect in the primordial mystery realm. Today can be considered a test. You can talk about establishing a sect after you pass this test." Lin Muyu raised her hand and slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. The sword light was piercingly cold, and it glowed with a terrifying luster under the sunlight. She nodded and smiled, but didn't say anything. "I'm going to attack." Lunatic Liang had a fiery temperament. He rushed over after greeting Yi Shiwen. His battle axe chopped down from the sky. Flame soared and formed a series of flame ripples in the surroundings. It was a type of energy field that could control energy. Ordinary experts would not be able to dodge within the range of Lunatic Liang's energy field. However, it was different for Lin Muyu. Under the invisible elephant spell, he could almost perfectly see through every weak point of Lunatic Liang's domain. It was as if there was a safe zone outside of the lightning. Therefore, Lin Muyu stepped on the wave of flames and slid to the left almost perfectly, cleverly avoiding Lunatic Liang's axe. Puff! Although the axe was powerful, it didn't fall to the ground. Instead, it stopped less than 10 centimeters away from the stone slab. Crazy Liang had a good control over his strength. After missing his first strike, he immediately followed up with another sweep. The sharpness of the axe increased exponentially, turning into a flaming arc that cleaved towards Lin Muyu's position. Lin Muyu landed on the ground and quickly opened his left hand. With a buzzing sound, a golden gourd wall appeared in front of him. Immediately, the surrounding area lords were stunned. Some even laughed, their faces full of mockery. Most of the deities who cultivated in the primordial mystery realm were deities. Many of them had seen the existence of martial souls, and there were many who were born with martial souls in many planes. However, as one stepped into the deity realm, the martial souls became less and less useful. As such, Most of the deities treated martial souls as insignificant tricks, and some even thought that they were just playing with them. However, Lin Muyu's martial soul was different. With a violent explosion, Crazy Liang's axe was perfectly repelled by the wall of the gourd. Crazy Liang's arms were numb, and he couldn't help but slide back a long distance. He looked at Lin Muyu with a face full of shock. The crowd below the stage was also stunned. Everyone seemed to have underestimated Lin Muyu and his martial soul. Interesting. There's someone like this in the Eastern Heavens realm. Fire Lion Region Lord Zhuangfei sat firmly in his chair and twirled his beard with a smile. Looks like the Dragon League is not simple. The Domain Lord of the Gale Region, Du Xing, narrowed his eyes with a hint of coldness. The Deputy Domain Lord beside him whispered, "Domain Lord, who exactly is this Lin Muyu?" Du Xing shook his head. "I don't know. The ancient mystery realm is isolated from the world. We don't know what happened outside. Perhaps Lin Muyu is already someone who can summon wind and rain in the three realms. We just don't know about it. Anyway, be careful." Yes. In the Devouring Heaven Region's seat, the Deputy Region Lord Zhao Qian calmly watched Lin Muyu and Lunatic Liang fighting on the stage. He didn't say a word and only tapped his fingers rhythmically on the table beside him. In the host's seat, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan watched the fight nervously. They were all worried about Lin Muyu. The Dragon League's founding ceremony was a gathering of experts. With so many experts gathered in one place, whoever stood out here would also stand out in the 64 regions. Lin Muyu might face more challenges than expected. Buzz. The flames slashed across like blades, but they still only touched the tip of Lin Muyu's cloak. Lunatic Liang's every attack seemed to be extremely dangerous, but Lin Muyu could perfectly avoid danger every time. Moreover, Lin Muyu's counterattack was also very weak. Every attack from the Xianyuan sword was easily blocked by Lunatic Liang. He's clearly stalling for time. In the guest seat, a person suddenly slammed his fist on the table, stood up, and shouted, "Lunatic Liang, come down. You're no match for him. He's just using you to delay Kaijan. Admit defeat and let someone else do it." Everyone looked over. The person who spoke had 2 scars on his face. He looked to be in his 40s, and there was a flag of the Falling Star region behind him. Obviously, he was the region lord of the Falling Star region, Zheng Xian, who had taken in Dongfang Yan. Zheng Xian and Dongfang Yan were good friends. Naturally, he would make things difficult for Lin Muyu here. On the stage, Lunatic Liang seemed to be a little annoyed. He slashed his battle axe and roared, "Lin Muyu, how dare you look down on me? If you dare to play tricks on me like this again, I'll make you look bad." The continuous attacks had already messed up Lunatic Liang's breathing. At this time, he could only use less than half of his strength. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu was calm and unruffled, as if nothing had happened. Seeing Lunatic Liang's axe coming at her, Lin Muyu used falling star steps and suddenly moved 1 meter horizontally at an unimaginable speed. Her long sword fell upside down, and the hilt of the sword caught the handle of Lunatic Liang's axe. Lin Muyu's control of power was brilliant. She lifted her foot and gently touched the tip of Lunatic Liang's foot. Her right hand suddenly swung out with his battle axe, and suddenly Lunatic Liang lost his balance. Buzz, flames swirled in the air. Lunatic Liang wanted to forcibly stop his declining momentum in the air. Once he fell off the stage, it meant that he had failed the challenge. But how could Lin Muyu give him such a chance? From behind, she sent out a fierce palm, and a celestial image of all living beings appeared. Chaos of all living beings. Pung. There was a loud sound. This heavy force was extremely ingenious, and it just happened to crush Lunatic Liang's power of flying. In the next moment, this God Emperor powerhouse was like a mortal. His thick body fell onto the stone floor with a pung sound, and his face was covered in dirt. Lunatic Liang was defeated. "You." Lunatic Liang suddenly sprang up from the ground, his face full of shame and anger. He had been humiliated in front of the leaders of all the forces in the 64 domains, and the entire Wind Spirit territory knew that their territory lord had been defeated. This was really humiliating. Lunatic Liang's face turned red. He picked up his battle axe and was about to go back into the arena to fight. Territory Lord Liang. Zhao Qian, the deputy territory lord of the heaven-devouring territory, who was sitting on the spectator stand, said, "You've lost. According to the rules of the imperial battle, if you fail the challenge, you can't go back into the arena. Please return to your seat and wait for others to challenge you." Humph. Lunatic Liang returned to his seat angrily. The God Realm experts of the Wind Spirit territory behind him looked at each other and didn't dare to speak. Lunatic Liang was a hot-tempered man, and there was nothing he wouldn't do if he was provoked into anger. However, after Lunatic Liang was defeated, the people sitting on the spectator stand fell silent again. No one wanted to go back into the arena unless they thought their cultivation was much higher than Lunatic Liang's. A few seconds later, Zhuang Fei, the territory lord of the Fiery Lion territory, took a sip of his tea, looked in the direction of Zheng Xian, the territory lord of the Falling Star territory, and said with a smile, "I heard that territory lord Zheng Xian is Dongfang Yan's best friend. Now that Dongfang Yan's Raging Wind territory has been destroyed by the Dragon League, do you want to watch your best friend's enemy pass the imperial battle?" As he spoke, Zhuang Fei smiled and said, "The Fiery Lion territory isn't picking fights. We're just taking things as they are. If my friend's force is destroyed, I won't stand by and do nothing. I heard that Domain Lord Zheng Xian has practiced the amazing butterfly knife technique. Could it be that this butterfly knife technique is not used to kill people but to slaughter pigs and chickens?" Zheng Xian's face was livid. A few experts from the Falling Star territory frowned and tried to persuade him. It wasn't wise to step forward at this time. However, Zheng Xian still stood up steadily and said, "Territory Lord Zhuang, you're exaggerating. Although I'm not talented, I'm a man who distinguishes between public and private interests. Since all the other territory lords don't dare to go up to the imperial battle, I, Zheng Xian, will be bold enough to try." As he spoke, he grabbed the two lancets beside him, stepped on the wind, and flew up to the arena. Everyone cheered in unison. Zheng Xian was the territory lord of the Falling Star territory, and his cultivation was at the 87th Grotto Heaven realm. He was one of the strongest experts in the 11 southern regions. It was expected that Zheng Xian would challenge Lin Muyu, the new leader of the southern forces. Lancet's butterfly knife skill. Known for his speed, it was said that Zheng Xian could slash out nearly 20 times in a second. No one knew if this was true or not, because Zheng Xian spent most of his time in seclusion and did not spar with anyone. Those who knew of his saber techniques were all dead. Zheng Xian smiled politely and said, "Alliance leader Lin, please enlighten me." Lin Muyu looked at him deeply. Today's opponents were all top-notch experts, and she couldn't underestimate any of them. She cupped her fists and said, "Please enlighten me." As soon as she finished speaking, Zheng Xian's figure disappeared. How fast was that? Lin Muyu knew where he was. She suddenly lifted her battle boots from the ground and looked down. She saw that the stone slab she had been standing on had been chopped into pieces by a flurry of knives. Sharp wind blade cyclones danced wildly, cutting deep grooves on the stone slab. Zheng Xian's speed was really fast. Chapter 10:13. Clang. The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed. When Lin Muyu looked down, she saw a blurry silhouette coming from the whirlwind at high speed. In the blink of an eye, it was already in front of her. The moment Lin Muyu unsheathed her sword, she slashed out 4 times. Milky white air currents danced around the lancet like dancing butterflies. No wonder this sword technique was called the butterfly blade. Lin Muyu didn't have time to use any techniques, so she immediately slashed out with the blade aimed at Zheng Xian's throat. If Zheng Xian persisted in slashing out these few times, Lin Muyu's spirit wall would be damaged, but the Xianyuan sword would be enough to kill Zheng Xian. Zheng Xian was shocked. He had never encountered such a fighting style since his debut. She didn't let go at all and fought attack with attack. However, this seemed to hit the weakness of the butterfly blade technique. The reason why the butterfly blade technique could be so fast was because it gave up on defense. Zheng Xian had defeated many people, but they were all too busy blocking the lightning-fast blade technique. The more they blocked, the faster they lost. This was a matter of course. However, Lin Muyu didn't block and saw through the weakness of the butterfly blade technique. Zhang Xian hurriedly withdrew his attack. His body spun in the wind and disappeared again. Practitioners of the law of wind were extraordinarily fast. This kind of movement speed was at least 3 to 5 times that of Feng Jixing. Even Lin Muyu couldn't keep track of it with the naked eye. The wind was so strong that it was almost impossible to open one's eyes. Lin Muyu stood in the air and shouted decisively, "All the phenomena in the world, listen to my command." Immediately, the elephant formless domain expanded rapidly. Golden elephant wheels appeared in Lin Muyu's palm. "Oh, what's that?" On the ground, a group of domain lords looked up. "Is it a spirit wheel?" Zhuang Fei, the domain lord of the Fire Lion region, asked in surprise. "No." Zhao Qian, the deputy domain master of the heaven-devouring domain, smiled faintly. "But the characteristics of her power are similar to that of a spirit wheel." "Interesting. This Lin Muyu is really interesting." Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin also raised their heads to look at the sky, their faces full of admiration. Although Lin Muyu's strength was low, her martial arts cultivation was shockingly high. In the air, Lin Muyu had already thrown the elephant wheel into the void. Bang! A muffled sound exploded in the invisible wind, like a muffled thunder exploding. Following that, another 7 or 8 elephant wheels were sent out, and the explosions in the air became more and more frequent. Everyone could only see the purple ripples created by the collision of divine powers in the air, but they could not see what was happening. Swish, swish. Lin Muyu's heart suddenly sank. An inexplicable premonition arose in her heart. She immediately raised her sword and slashed downwards. Sure enough, Zhang Xian's figure appeared in the gale. His 2 lancet blades were brandished, and the deadly knife chi attacked. However, it was locked on by Lin Muyu's aura and directly shattered. Bang! The Xianyuan sword directly shook the lancet blades for the first time, activating the light of the 3 luminaries all calamity, and instantly repelled her opponent. Although Zhang Xian's cultivation in the law of wind was very shocking, he focused too much on speed and neglected power. As a result, Lin Muyu's 3rd luminaries was able to directly repel him. Just as Zhang Xian disappeared in the gale, a thought popped up in Lin Muyu's mind again. This time, without thinking, she backhanded her sword and slashed behind her. Clang! It hit again. The Xianyuan sword collided heavily with the lancet blades. Lin Muyu was ecstatic. That sudden, prophetic thought was the ability to foresee? The ability of the 70 grotto heavens was too useful. It was just that sometimes it could foresee, and sometimes it couldn't. It seemed like she still had to practice hard. Zhang Xian's face was also full of shock. This is impossible. But the impossible had already happened. Lin Muyu's dense attacks had already landed. In almost 5 seconds, the Xianyuan sword and the butterfly blades had already clashed more than 10 times, and Zhang Xian fell to the ground from the impact. She raised her palm, and dozens of elephant wheels fell with a loud bang. Under the pressure of the elephant wheel's domain, Zhang Xian felt as if there was a huge mountain on his head. How could he still maintain flying in the air? His feet landed with a bang, and he held the butterfly blades with both hands to forcibly lift this invisible mountain. He could be considered a man of iron bones to be able to catch dozens of elephant wheels in an instant. Unfortunately, when Zhang Xian looked down at his feet, he felt a chill in his heart. He had landed, and he had landed in an area outside the high platform. Zhang Xian was defeated. Lin Muyu landed slowly and smiled. Territory Lord Zhang, thank you for letting me win. Zhang Xian's face was ashen. He didn't really lose, but the trauma in his heart was far heavier than this. His butterfly blade technique was actually broken by someone he had only met for the first time. What a huge blow it was. I lost. Zhang Xian bowed to Lin Muyu and then shakily walked back to his seat. Below the platform, the territory lords fell silent again. Zhuang Fei glanced at the incense stick and said, "There's not much time left. Who else wants to challenge the leader of the Dragon League?" Territory Lord Nangong Lai. "Don't you like to challenge strong enemies? Why don't you try?" Territory Lord Nangong. The Falling Star Territory and the Fengling Territory both lost. Perhaps the Mystic Heaven Territory can save the face of the 64 territories. Nangong Lai crossed his arms and smiled faintly. If you want to save face, do it yourself. Why do you need me to do it? I'm not in a good mood today, and I don't want to fight. Territory Lord Zhuang, if you think the leader of the Dragon League is too eye-catching, why don't you try it yourself? We also want to see what realm the Territory Lord of the Fiery Lion Territory has reached. Zhuang Fei was exasperated. Nangong Lai was too unreasonable. Although Zhuang Fei was a perfect celestial emperor with 90 grado heavens, he was still inexperienced. On the other hand, Nangong Lai of the Mystic Heaven Territory had 92 grado heavens, Du Xing of the Gale Wind Territory had 91 grado heavens, and Zhao Qian of the Heaven Devouring Territory had 93 grado heavens. They were all perfect celestial emperors, and their power and laws needed to be in harmony. Although they were all perfect celestial emperors, the power they could exert might be worlds apart. Therefore, Zhuang Fei didn't dare to be careless, which was also why he didn't challenge them. The incense stick is about to burn out. Du Xing coughed and said, Territory Lord of the Fiery Lion Territory, do you really not want to experience the power of the leader of the Dragon League? Why don't you, Territory Lord Du Xing? Zhuang Fei asked. Du Xing laughed and said, My Gale Wind Territory is just a small territory in the northern snowfield. It's hard for us to enter the Grand Hall. Why should we fight here? But the Fiery Lion Territory is in the western region, and it's close to the Dragon League. Territory Lord, why don't you take this chance to experience the power of the leader of the Dragon League? Are you looking for another good opportunity? When he said another good opportunity, he purposely emphasized it. Obviously, if they didn't fight here, the next time they fought, it would most likely be a life-and-death battle. Everyone knew the process of the rise of the Dragon League. First, they conquered the Sparrow Spirit Territory, then the Golden Dragon Territory, then the Sky Foothill Territory, and finally the Raging Fire Territory. The development of the Dragon League was a process of continuous conquest. If they didn't fight now, the next time they fought would be the time for the Dragon League to conquer the Fiery Lion Territory. The thing that Zhuang Fei feared the most was right. His expression was extremely ugly. He clenched his fists and sat there without saying a word. After a few seconds, he raised his head and looked at the people from the Heaven Devouring Territory. The Heaven Devouring Territory was the strongest territory in the 64 territories. At this moment, Zhuang Fei seemed to have the intention of asking the leader of the Heaven Devouring Territory for a lesson. Coincidentally, Zhao Qian also looked at Zhuang Fei and tacitly agreed. He smiled and said, Victory and defeat are common, not to mention a sparring match. It's not a bad thing for Territory Lord Zhuang to take this rare opportunity to spar with the leader of the Dragon League. Don't think too much. The incense is about to burn out. All right then. Zhuang Fei suddenly stood up and made a grabbing motion in the air with one hand. A dazzling long spear appeared in his hand. He smiled and said, Then let the Fiery Lion Territory experience the power of Alliance Lord Lin. He leaped onto the high platform. The Fire Lion spear in his hand glowed with a dazzling light. The power of flames was extremely vigorous. In terms of the intensity of the flames, Zhuang Fei was probably way above Lunatic Liang. Lin Muyu knew that he was a great perfection divine emperor, and did not dare to look down on him. He held his sword and said humbly, Territory Lord, please enlighten me. Enlighten me? Zhuang Fei bellowed. He straightened his Fire Lion spear and stabbed forward. The flames around the tip of the spear blossomed like an endless fire net. This attack was not as simple as it looked. The entire space seemed to be locked by the power of the flames that blossomed from the tip of the spear, making it impossible for anyone to dodge. Lin Muyu's heart sank. Zhuang Fei's power was indeed not to be underestimated. Every phenomenon in the world, listen to my command. Chanting silently, Lin Muyu's divine power surged. With his body as the core, a strong wind blew. This time, the invisible elephant technique made use of the natural wind. Wind blades swept in all directions like wind saws and collided with the fire domain that Zhuang Fei had condensed. At the same time, the Xianyuan sword turned into a cold radiance and swung forward. Clang! The blade of the sword and the tip of the spear collided, and another wave of cold radiance spread out. An inch longer, an inch stronger. Zhuang Fei brandished the spear and unleashed another fierce attack. Lin Muyu quickly dodged to the side. However, he was unable to completely avoid the impact of the flames. The divine wall on his neck had already let out a sizzling sound. Zhuang Fei's divine power seemed to have penetrated into his skin through every pore, bringing with it a burning sensation. Swoosh! The spear entangled the blade of the sword like a python. Zhuang Fei's face was already filled with pride. Although he was a celestial Dharch expert, Zhuang Fei was still very diligent in his spear skills. His spear skills and absolute divine power had forged his position as the strongest expert in the western region of the 64 regions. However, a scene that Zhuang Fei did not expect happened. Lin Muyu's wrist turned rhythmically, following which, a mighty force surged from the Xianyuan sword. Pa! Not only did it break away from the Fire Lion spear, but it also forced Zhuang Fei to take a few steps back. This attack was the thunderclap style of the dragon taming spear technique. Although the power was reduced by several folds using the Xianyuan sword, it was still enough to force back the Fire Lion spear. Zhuang Fei was amazed. This time, he had to take Lin Muyu seriously. She had just stepped into the 70th celestial Dharch realm. Chapter 10-14. Let's try this. Zhuang Fei brandished his long spear as a fire lion constellation rapidly manifested at the tip of the spear, causing its might to increase explosively. Fiery light shot towards Lin Muyu, and the raging flame domain transformed into a gigantic whirlpool, as though it wanted to destroy everything. The spectators on the ground couldn't help but be shocked, and even Feng Zhanlin and the rest had no choice but to unleash their domains to defend against the impact of the flames. The entire great hall of the Dragon City trembled unceasingly. Zhuang Fei was serious. Meeting her match, Lin Muyu's heart was not filled with fear but excitement. He suddenly shook his arms, and the Xianyuan sword shone brightly. Golden wheels quickly appeared behind him, stacking on top of each other. Nearly 1,000 elephant wheels rapidly gathered. This was the first time he made a move since he had mastered the shapeless elephant spell to the 4th layer of the 1,000 elephants. God-destroying elephants. With a wave of the blade, countless elephant wheels rushed forward. Each elephant will contain the tyrannical power of nature, and its destructive power could be imagined. After waving these elephant wheels, more than half of the divine power in Lin Muyu's body seemed to have been absorbed. She was showing signs of exhaustion, and she couldn't help but feel a little regretful. Holding the Fire Lion spear, Zhuang Fei felt that the elephant wheels in front of him were like a tribulation of heaven and earth. He had to face them head-on, and the only thing he could deal with was the divine wheels. Suddenly throwing the Fire Lion spear to the ground, Zhuang Fei crossed his palms. His body was still trembling, and countless divine power transformed into huge divine wheels in the air, constantly blocking Lin Muyu's elephant wheels. Bang bang bang. The world was overshadowed, and there was only the sound of the collision between the divine wheel and the elephant wheel in the sky. Powerful shock waves swept across the sky and the earth, accompanied by the screams of women. Countless maids in Dragon City were so scared that they retreated with pale faces. The earth also trembled, and even cracks began to appear on it. Feng Zhanlin hurriedly shouted, "Region Lord Zhuang Lin General, stop fighting. If you continue, Dragon City will be destroyed." However, no one could hear his words amidst the raging winds and raging flames. Lin Muyu and Zhuang Fei's fists had already collided with each other. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Every time they collided, there would be an explosion of power. It was extremely frightening. With a buzzing sound, cracks began to appear on the jade steps of the main hall, and they continued to expand. Everyone's horizons were broadened. One was a grand perfection god emperor of the western region, and the other was the newly risen Dragon City master. The battle between the two of them was so destructive. Indeed, there were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the prehistoric mystery realm. Feng Zhanlin hurriedly turned to the seat of the heaven-devouring region, cupped his fists and said, "Dragon City has just been built. I'm afraid it can't withstand such a torment. Deputy Region Lord Zhao Qian, please stop the battle between the two. This imperial battle should end here." The heaven cauldron of the domain castle is about to break. This is not as simple as 1 or 2 lives. Zhao Qian frowned. In fact, as a spectator, he did not mind the commotion. But since Feng Zhanlin had said so, the heaven-devouring region, as the leader of the 64 domains, naturally had no reason to stand aside. More importantly, the heaven-devouring region's intervention was more likely to resolve the battle between the south and west domains. It gave off a sense of superiority, and made the 64 domains respect the heaven-devouring region even more. Why not? In the next moment, Zhao Qian had already disappeared from his seat. All that was left was wisps of white mist that looked like auspicious clouds. Zhao Qian's voice rang out in the air. Region Lord Zhuang, Alliance Leader Lin, let's stop here. Let's just treat this Imperial Palace battle as a draw. In the midst of the intense battle, the power of the two was like an arrow knocked on a bowstring. The dazzling Xianyuan sword rapidly slashed at Zhuang Fei's waist blade. Raging flames and raging winds swept. The battle was very tense. Both of you stop. A vast divine power invaded. It was as if a pair of giant arms had appeared in the air, grabbing Zhuang Fei's waist blade with one hand and Lin Muyu's Xianyuan sword with the other. Zhao Qian stood in the air. Su Ran shook slightly, like a god descending to the earth. He shouted in a low voice, "This is the end." Zhuang Fei felt that his waist blade could no longer slash down, and his body seemed to be restrained by the power. Lin Muyu had fought several people consecutively, and had also used up a lot of energy. Moreover, the strength of her divine power was far inferior to Zhao Qian's. For a moment, the Xianyuan sword trembled slightly in the air, unable to slash down. This time, Zhao Qian had earned a lot of face for the heaven-devouring region. Zhuang Fei gritted his teeth and retracted his strength. Lin Muyu also returned the Xianyuan sword to its sheath. In the air, the smoke dissipated, and the ripples caused by the battle also stopped. On the contrary, the ground was a mess. Countless chrysanthemums had been blown to the ground. Even the servant army had formed a shield formation to resist the impact of the airflow. The 3 of them slowly landed on the stage. Zhao Qian smiled and said, "The leader of the Dragon League is indeed extraordinary. It's really not easy to have such a celestial being cultivation at such a young age." The cultivation of Region Lord Zhuang of the Fiery Lion region is also unfathomable. In my opinion, why don't we call this a draw? Your 2 families still have to get along in the future. Don't hurt the harmony. Zhuang Fei also did not want to offend the heaven-devouring region. He pulled out the Fire Lion spear from the stone brick and cupped his hands. "Then I will listen to Deputy Region Lord Zhao Qian's arrangement." Lin Muyu said, "So does the Dragon League pass the challenge of the Imperial Palace battle?" Zhao Qian turned to look at the incense burner, and saw that the incense had burned out with the help of the wind. He smiled and said, "Of course. From now on, the Dragon League is a new member of the 64 domains. I hope that the Dragon League can take on the responsibility of eliminating the strong and helping the weak, and maintaining peace in the 64 domains." As he spoke, Zhao Qian revealed a meaningful smile and said, "Alliance Leader Lin, you should have heard of this saying. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. The rule of the 64 domains has always been that whoever wants to be the strongest must pay the price in blood. As the guardian of the middle region, the heaven-devouring region will definitely protect the rules of the 64 domains by example." Lin Muyu naturally knew what Zhao Qian was implying. She smiled and said, "Don't worry, Deputy Region Lord. The Dragon League has always been one that does not offend us, and we, the Dragon League, only take care of those who try to provoke us. After all, the people of the Dragon League will leave the primordial mystery land one day and obtain eternal life." Oh. Zhao Qian could not help but be taken aback. He then laughed and said, "I almost forgot that Alliance Leader Lin is from the East Heaven Realm. However, it will not be easy for Alliance Leader Lin to bring so many gods from the primordial mystery land to the God realm to enjoy eternal life. At least from what I know." His tone softened a little. After all, eternal life was too tempting for the godly state experts in the primordial mystery land. Let alone the people of the Dragon League. Even the people of the Fiery Lion region and the Mystic Heaven region could not help but raise their eyebrows. If Lin Muyu knew the way to leave the primordial mystery land and go to the god realm, he would be the savior of this world. Lin Muyu smiled and cupped her fists. Actually, I do not know how to leave the primordial mystery land at the moment, but since I am here, there must be a way out. What do you think, Deputy Region Lord? Maybe. Zhao Qian wore a smile on his face, but in his heart, he was almost cursing. Lin Muyu's words at the founding ceremony of the Dragon League was simply buying people's hearts. How many people would submit to the Dragon League and Lin Muyu just for the sake of eternal life? Then the ceremony is about to begin. Distinguished guests, please prepare to enter the banquet. Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin invited everyone to enter the banquet. Zhao Qian led a dozen people of the devouring heaven realm straight to Qin Yin and the others. When they arrived in front of Shi Yan, Zhao Qian smiled politely and cupped his fists. Are you Lord Blazing Angel Shi Yan? Shi Yan nodded and smiled, but did not speak. Zhao Qian's spiritual sense kept probing Shi Yan's surroundings, but he could not see through Shi Yan's strength. He only felt that the divine power of light was very vast and penetrating. Suddenly, he felt very uncertain. Last time, when the 99 heavenly abode god emperor called Xiao came, he almost turned the 64 domains upside down. He destroyed the spirit wind domain and ancient desolation domain single-handedly. What kind of cultivation was that? Even after the devouring heaven realm went there, Xiao was not afraid at all, and almost fought with the domain lord of the devouring heaven realm, Situ Yun. Thinking of this, Zhao Qian could not help but shiver. Now, another unfathomable blazing angel had come to the 64 domains. Shi Yan's cultivation might not be weaker than Xiao's, and she was even stronger in terms of attack. At this moment, what Zhao Qian was most worried about was not Lin Muyu but Shi Yan's existence. Deputy Domain Lord Zhao, have you seen enough? Shi Yan smiled slightly. Zhao Qian hurriedly cupped his hands. This junior has never seen a person like Lord Shi Yan. I have lost my composure and offended you. Please forgive me. It's all right. Deputy Domain Lord, please take your seat. Yes, thank you. As he spoke, Zhao Qian's gaze swept over Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, and he was immediately stunned. Although their cultivation was not as high as Shi Yan's, their appearance was not inferior to Shi Yan's. Moreover, Zhao Qian actually felt two faint waves of overgod's power. He could not help but feel a little puzzled. Two overgods appearing in the same place? This was too ridiculous. At this moment, Zhao Qian's gaze swept over Fuzhu. Fuzhu had already changed into a scholarly robe. Coupled with his handsome appearance, he was very eye-catching. He did not care about the devouring heaven territory. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Kid, what are you looking at? Even if you look at me again, I am still 100,000 times more handsome than you. Try looking again, try looking again." Zhao Qian was stunned. Who was this beast? He was too arrogant. However, seeing that he was with Shi Yan, Qin Yin, and the other beauties, he did not say anything. With a livid expression, he led the group of devouring heaven territory disciples into the main hall to take their seats. At this moment, Lin Muyu walked over and glared at Fuzhu. Why are you so arrogant? Are you going to clean up after offending the devouring heaven territory? Don't eat lunch. Later, Xiaoxi will prepare a dry bun for him and summon some water to drink. That will be enough. Fuzhu had a pleading look on his face. Don't, master. This little beast wants to eat fish and meat, fresh seafood. Chapter 10-15. The ceremony was a big day for the Dragon League, so almost all the best things were offered. When Lin Muyu sat at the host's seat, he was shocked by the table of delicacies that he had never seen before. He saw a roasted suckling pig that looked like a donkey, and grapes that looked like a woman's breasts. Feng Zhanlin explained, "That is a spiritual donkey pig which we hunted in the mountains after much difficulty. This kind of wild boar can run like lightning, and its speed is astonishing. It is even comparable to the Starfall Domain Master's movement technique. As for that grape, it is called milk grape. Ha ha ha. It is said that it has a very good effect of nourishing the skin." Lin Muyu glanced at him. feeling that Feng Zhanlin had also learned bad things. The people at Lin Muyu's table were basically all nobles. Zhao Qian of the Devouring Heaven domain, Zhuang Fei of the Fiery Lion domain, Nangong Lai of the Mystic Heaven domain, and Du Xing of the Gale domain were all high-ranking figures among the 64 domains. In addition, there were Shi Yan, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the 2 domain lords of the Dragon League. Therefore, everyone had to be careful with their words and actions. Nangong Lai's gaze fell onto a plate of fruits and he said, "This could it be the legendary Dragon Claw Sweet Taro?" "That's right, Domain Lord Nangong has a good eye." Ma Qilin smiled. "Dragon Claw Sweet Potato is very good for cleansing the meridians. It is a pity that there are less than 100 of them in Dragon City's garden. This time, we have picked 20 of them for the Domain Lords to taste. Consider it our Dragon League's hospitality as a host." Zhao Qian was slightly stunned. Dragon Claw Sweet Potato was indeed good stuff. Because it grew on trees, it would fall to the ground once it was ripe, and would rot quickly after falling to the ground. Therefore, there had to be people guarding it. Ripe Dragon Claw Sweet Potato had to be stored in an ice cellar, or it would lose its spiritual power. A well-preserved Dragon Claw Sweet Potato would cost at least 10,000 gold coins, and Dragon City actually used it to entertain guests. Today, not only will there be delicious food, but there will also be good wine. Feng Zhanlin gave the guard a look. Very quickly, a few maids walked over with wine jugs. Before they poured the wine, they could already smell the mellow aroma. Instantly, Nangong Lai's eyes lit up. "What wine is this? It's so fragrant. There's even the smell of peace heartberry in the fragrance. Could it be the legendary 10,000 years drunk? Region Lord Nangong has a good nose." Qinyin couldn't help but smile. "This is indeed 10,000 years intoxication. We only found 2 jars in the cellar of Dragon City. Wow, it's really 10,000 years intoxication." Nangong Lai's face was flushed with excitement as he said, "It's said that 1,000 caddies of peace heartberries need to be fermented for 1,000 years before one can brew an authentic 10,000-year drunk. I've only heard of it but never tasted it. This Dragon City is really a good place. There are all kinds of treasures." Smiling, Feng Zhanlin said, "If you think Dragon City is good, why don't you join us with the realm of Mystic Heaven?" He started to pull people over. However, Nangong Lai was a 92nd level Grotto Heaven Great Perfection Celestial Emperor, so it was not that easy to pull him down. He waved his hand and smiled. "Let's talk about this after we drink." The color of 10 millennia intoxication was light blue, but it was delicious and fragrant. When it was poured into the cup, it actually gave off a faint icy aura. Even Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan, who didn't drink much, couldn't help but want to taste this legendary treasure. Speaking of which, it was also thanks to Dongfang Yan. If Dongfang Yan hadn't fled in a hurry and didn't take anything with him, Dragon City wouldn't have so many treasures, and they wouldn't have the luck to enjoy such a treasure. When they began to enjoy the 10 millennia intoxication, a terrifying gaze shot over from not far away. It was Zheng Xian's gaze. Zheng Xian and Dongfang Yan were old friends, so he naturally knew about the existence of 10 millennia intoxication. Now that Lin Muyu and the others took out 10 millennia intoxication to entertain Zhao Qian, Nangong Lai, and the others, Zheng Xian probably wanted to kill them. However, there were so many experts from the 64 domains here today, so Zheng Xian didn't dare to cause any trouble. During the banquet, Du Xing's attitude towards Lin Muyu was very good. After all, she was a force from the north, and was separated from the Dragon League by the entire Middle Territory. Therefore, based on the principle of befriending distant forces, there was no need to offend her. Because of this, so many people challenged Lin Muyu, but Du Xing didn't move at all. Lin Muyu saw this, but she knew very well that Du Xing was a smart man, probably much smarter than all the domain lords present. He understood what it meant to size up the situation. On the other hand, Zhuang Fei, Lunatic Liang and the others were far behind. As for Zhao Qian, he was actually very arrogant. He looked down on the other forces from the bottom of his heart, and in his eyes, there was only the Devouring Heaven domain. The banquet lasted for 2 days, and on the 3rd day, people from the major forces were sent away. At this point, the Dragon League was established, and the 64 domains began to stir. At the same time, undercurrents were also surging in the shattered cauldron realm. Mingshan Province, the southernmost province of the Qin Empire, had Shangyang City as its economic, political, and military center. Mingshan Province's main industries were fishing, hunting, and farming. There were many mountains and rivers, and the people were rich. Therefore, the empire didn't send many troops to Mingshan Province. The entire Mingshan Province was 3 times the size of Lingnan Province, but it only had a measly 40,000 troops. Most of them were new troops, and the commander was once the god of war, and now the commander of the Mingshan Province's garrison, Xiangyu. At night, the governor's mansion was quiet. In the huge office there was a several-meter-long desk, and Xiangyu was wearing a general's robe, carefully looking at the map under the candlelight. Dong dong. An old voice came from outside the door. Master Yu, you haven't slept yet? Xiangyu raised his head. Oh, it's General Lu. Come in. Yes. An old general walked in shakily. His face was old, but his spirit was still hale and hearty. He was one of the deputy commanders of the Mingshan garrison, Lu Yongchang. Lu Yongchang joined the army early and had always been in the local army, but he had also represented the Iha country's army to fight against the devil race. He could be considered a meritorious minister of the empire, and now he had become Xiangyu's right-hand man. Under the candlelight, Lu Yongchang looked at the map and said, Master Yu, you have been looking at the map for a day. Have you figured anything out? How many scouts have we sent to Nanman? A total of 20 people. How many have returned? Not yet. Lu Yongchang seemed a little surprised and said, They have just set off for less than a month. It will take a month to reach the depths of Nanman, and another month to return. Master Yu seems to be worried that it is too early? Xiangyu smiled faintly, took out a stack of documents from the drawer at the side, and gently placed it on the table. General, look at this. What is this? This is the annual reconnaissance report of Nanman. Basically, all the scouts will report back within a month, because they will not really enter the depths of Nanman. But this year, a month has passed, and none of these people actually came back to hand in the order. This really makes me feel a little strange. Lu Yongchang could not help but laugh. The south is a barren land. Other than birds and beasts, there is nothing else. Mingshan Province's documents pile up like a mountain every day. And Master Yu does not care about so many important matters. Instead, you care about the small matter of the scouts. This is really inconceivable. Perhaps, this group of lazy fools is drinking in some tavern. Xiangyu's eyes lit up. General, we have a heavy responsibility, so we must be careful. Otherwise, wouldn't we be letting down the emperor? Moreover, I will not let go of such details. Immediately pass down my order. Send more people to the Nanman wastelands to scout and investigate. Yes, I will immediately send another 100 people. No. Xiangyu waved his hand. 100 people is far from enough. Send another 1,000 people. Every 100 people will form a team. Give them enough dry rations and fast horses. Pass down my order. They must explore the Nanman wastelands within a month and only return after confirming that there are no accidents. Yes, this subordinate will do it now. Lu Yongchang closed the door, leaving only the cold wind swirling in the room. Xiangyu could not help but shiver. Ever since Tang Wei died, he had not had a woman by his side for a long time. Although he was a god, he was still a human. How could he withstand so many years of loneliness? At the thought of women, Xiangyu could not help but raise his head and lie on the chair. What was a woman? To him, they were probably nothing. Now, he only wanted to guard the empire's south and ensure that nothing went wrong. Otherwise, if something went wrong in the south, the imperial capital was bound to take action. Although Xiangyu and Feng Jixing were not of the same bloodline, they were still imperial great generals. They had fought for more than a decade in exchange for today's peace. Xiangyu was too worried about losing it again. Pata! A corner of the crystal on the window suddenly cracked. A cold wind rushed in, and instantly blew out the candle. Buzz! Xiangyu bellowed and pulled out his sword. The sword was enveloped in raging flames, illuminating the entire room. But there was nothing, just that the window had been in disrepair for many years. Xiang Yu couldn't help but feel a little dejected. A true famed general was tired of war, but he also hoped that the flames of war would reignite in his bones. Xiang Yu was exactly like this. In the dense forests of the south, well-trained soldiers were silently making their way through the forest. The banner of the Blackstone Empire could faintly be seen fluttering in the wind. In addition, the low roars of dragons could be heard in the sky. Within the army, under the banner of the commander, Lu Yan of the Sea and Mountain Army was the undisputed commander. He rode a majestic white warhorse as he slowly followed the army. Suddenly, a rider galloped over. It was a scout. "Lord Commander, we've discovered a village up ahead. We've ascertained that it does not belong to the tribes of the south. How should we deal with it?" Lu Yan's voice was somewhat gloomy. "Kill them all." "Yes." On the side, Bailey Yin frowned. Lu Yan looked at him. "What? Does the military advisor think that I'm doing something wrong?" Bailey Yin shook his head. "No, it's the exact opposite. Commander, you're doing the right thing. Our army must march silently. Otherwise, how can we achieve the effect of a surprise attack?" "Right. How are the Iha Empire's troops? Has Qin Yi, that old fellow, died of illness?" "Not yet. They're on our left. But don't worry, Commander. They're just a few tens of thousands of soldiers. Their battle prowess is low, and they're nothing to worry about." Speed up the march. We'll reach the Bright Mountain province within 7 days. We must capture Shangyang City within half a month. Yes. Chapter 10:16. On the 15th day of the 4th month, it was already spring in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Hundreds of flowers bloomed in the forest, and the forest was covered in a layer of lush greenery. Early in the morning, a light drizzle had just fallen, and it was cool to the touch. The forest was filled with the sounds of weapons rubbing against armor and horses stomping through the mud. From afar, the densely packed army of the Blackstone Empire had already filled the entire forest. At the front of the formation were all armored cavalry. Their warhorses had trophies of war hanging from their necks. These were the heads of the Empire's citizens. Defenseless civilians had been slaughtered, and their hair had been tied to the horses' necks to be used as battle points. Whoosh! From the sky, a figure rapidly descended. It was Fu Yun, the commander of the Dragon Riders and one of the core members of the Blackstone Empire's remnant army, known as the Northern Expedition. "How is it, Lord Fu Yun?" Lu Yan asked as he reined in his warhorse. Fu Yun respectfully replied, "It has been cleaned up. It seems that the Great Qin's border guards have already smelled our scent, so they have sent quite a number of troops to spy on us. Unfortunately, they have underestimated the Blackstone Empire. There was a 100-man scout team in front of us, but they have already been dealt with by this subordinate. Commander, pass down the order for the army to advance directly." "All right." Fu Yun smiled and raised his arm. "Continue to march north." Behind the armored cavalry was a group of soldiers with heavy shields. Most of them were freshly trained soldiers of the Nanman tribes, and their combat strength had yet to be tested. Regardless of whether they could participate in the battle, the impatient Lu Yin could not wait any longer. He had to get them into battle mode as soon as possible, because his group had been starving for many days. The Nanman tribes were poor, and Lu Yan's 150,000-strong army and the Iha Kingdom's 100,000-strong army had almost finished all the food that the Nanman tribes had stored for many years in a single winter. Now that spring was in full bloom, they had to go north to find more food for the army. Otherwise, they would all starve to death in the barren forest. When the soldiers passed by, they could smell the faint scent of blood in the wilderness. Looking into the distance, they could see corpses lying in the depths of the forest. These corpses had been soldiers when they were alive, and they could faintly see the bronze and silver-purple flower insignia on their arms. They were the Empire's scout team, and they belonged to the garrison of the Mingshan province. Lu Yan took a deep breath. Godly experts were indeed ruthless. One of them could kill 100 people without a sound, and not a single one of them could escape to report back. Bailey Yin, on the other hand, frowned. He was deeply worried, but he could not say anything about it. Lu Yan grabbed the reins and urged the horse forward. He turned to look at Bai Yan and asked, "Advisor, what's wrong?" "It's nothing." Bai Yan smiled. "Counselor seems to be depressed. Is he worried about Qin Yi's army?" Of Bailey Mountain. Bai Yan frowned and said, "We are already on the way to the north. However, there are some things that I do not know if I should say. If I say it, it might shake the morale of the army. If I don't say it." Lu Yan laughed. "Why are you so troublesome today? Speak, you are the descendant of Marshal Bailey Qin. You can say whatever you want to say, and only I, Lu Yan, can hear it. No one will be able to shake the army's morale." Bai Yan nodded, looked at the newly grown grass and the horse's hoof prints in the mud, and said, "We now have 150,000 people, and nearly half of them are new soldiers. Their combat strength is unknown, and there is also Qin Yi's army of 150,000 people. Qin Yi, that old fox, has not died for a long time, so he must be stalling for time. As for us, Commander, do you really think that our 150,000 people, which is a mix of good and bad, can really conquer the 4 great provinces of Lingnan? What do you think, Counselor?" Lu Yan was startled. "I don't think so." Bai Yan's pair of eyes were full of cautiousness, and said, "The strength of Qin Empire is obvious to all. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and the others are even more formidable, especially Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing. These 2 people can be said to be talented in both the pen and the sword. They are not only the masters of the God State, but they are also talented generals with military strategy. In terms of military strength and strategy, I am afraid that we are far inferior to them. Once the Qin Empire crushes us with the strength of the whole country, I am afraid that we will be defeated in less than a month." Lu Yan smiled slightly and said, "The most important thing that the counselor did not mention is that although the Qin Empire is strong, they are not united. What's more, now that the Congress has made the whole Lanyan city into a mess, Qin Yin, Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi and the others are said to be in closed-door training, but there is also a rumor that they have already ascended. In this way, who is the master of the world is another matter. If we do not take advantage of this opportunity to recapture Lingnan, I am afraid that in the future, there will not be such a heaven-sent opportunity." "Oh, Commander has already decided to deal with the Qin Empire in Lingnan?" Bai Yan asked. "Yes." Lu Yan took a deep breath. "Half a month ago, we received a letter from the Empire. Now that the Celestial Empire has suffered a crushing defeat, nearly 1 million soldiers died in battle, and their vitality is greatly damaged, but there are still hundreds of thousands of their strong troops at the border, and a variable, the Baizé mercenaries, has appeared in the north. That Si Kongyao's appetite is not small, and sooner or later, she will attack the Blackstone Empire, so His Majesty has also made a decision. Rather than fighting with hungry wolves, it is better to fight with a wounded tiger." Bai Yan was stunned. What His Majesty means is, the Celestial Empire and the Baizé mercenaries are hungry wolves, and the Qin Empire is a wounded tiger. That's right. The Qin Empire has experienced so many years of war, and their national strength has long been exhausted. They can no longer withstand another war. As long as we attack, we can seize this piece of land. Moreover, His Majesty has promised that as long as we conquer Lingnan, the second fleet of the Blackstone Empire will arrive in a few days, and move to the Shattered Cauldron realm with the power of the entire country. Move! Bai Yan's eyes were filled with amazement. This idea was too crazy. Could it be that the Blackstone Empire really wanted to treat the Shattered Cauldron realm as a colonial territory? Where does His Majesty's confidence come from? After pondering for a long time, Bai Yan asked. Lu Yan smiled faintly and said, "The sect master of the Thunder Blaze sect, Long Shi, and the valley master of the Wolf Valley, He Song, have already made a secret agreement with His Majesty. As long as we seize the 2 provinces of Lingnan, they will move with all their strength and fight with the Qin clan for the fertile land of the Shattered Cauldron realm." What? The Thunder Blaze sect and the Wolf Valley have decided to participate in the war? Yes. Bai Yan's face was full of shock as he said, I didn't expect that even the Wolf Valley, which has been dormant for so many years, would involve itself in the war. I really didn't expect. Lu Yan patted Bailey Yan's shoulder and said with a smile, "Brother, there are still many things that you didn't expect. The situation is changing. The Thunderblaze sect and the Wolf Valley also have to think about their future, right?" Bailey Yan fell silent and said, "Then, Commander, what's your first step in the attack?" Lu Yan's eyes were full of fierce light as he said in a deep voice, "First seize the southernmost Oxhorn city of the Bright Mountain province, then attack Yu City and Lai City on the left and right, forming a pincer attack on Shangyang City. Within 10 days, we will conquer Shangyang City in one fell swoop. Within half a month, we will conquer the entire Bright Mountain province." "Good, so the commander has already planned it out." Bailey Yan nodded. "I hope everything goes smoothly." A day later, the heavy rain had stopped. After a spring rain, all living things were in full bloom. Oxhorn City was a county city with hundreds of beautiful flowers. The pear blossoms and peach blossoms dozens of miles outside the city were pleasing to the eye. To the south of Oxhorn City was a forest. Many hunters lived at the edge of the forest, but there were no hunters further in. This was because the forest was too dangerous with spirit beasts running rampant in it. Therefore, to ordinary civilians, the depths of the forest was an unpredictable forbidden land. No one went there unless they were courting death. But on this day, a group of reapers appeared in this forbidden land. As the massive dragons circled in the sky and the armored horsemen swept across the earth, the dense army of the Blackstone Empire swept through the entire southern part of Oxhorn City, like a dark cloud. The defenders of the city didn't even have a chance to resist before they were routed. Fu Yan led a squad of dragon riders and blasted open the city gates. Lu Yan led his men in, and the cavalry surrounded Oxhorn City. The defenders of Oxhorn City were all killed, and even the messenger birds they had sent out into the sky were hunted down by the dragon riders and wolf falcons. The people far away weren't even able to receive a single piece of news. After leaving behind 500 men to defend the city and restocking the granaries, Lu Yan and Fu Yan split up. Fu Yan led tens of thousands of soldiers to attack Lai City, while Lu Yan led the army along the official road to attack the legendary city of Yu. 3 days later, the army arrived within the borders of the city of Yu. Along the way, there was very little resistance. The most powerful resistance force only had 3,000 men, but they were all slaughtered until they were in tatters, unable to retaliate at all. City of Yu was a city that towered between mountains. The surrounding terrain was extremely precipitous, and mountain forests extended endlessly. However, the area around City of Yu just so happened to be flat, suitable for farming. As a result, after thousands of years of reproduction, a city was formed here, and it was named City of Yu by the Qin family's ancestors. Over the countless years, City of Yu had given birth to countless capable and ambitious people. Among them, Lin Muyu, who came up with the plan of crossing the mountain ridge, as well as the late marshal of the Iha country, Long Qianlin, were both people from City of Yu. However, on this day, City of Yu was about to usher in a calamity. Before Lu Yan's army arrived, City of Yu's 4 city gates had long been tightly shut. The soldiers on the city walls were all on standby, and the dragon hunting crossbows and magic crystal cannons had also been pushed onto the city walls. Compared to Oxhorn City, which was caught off guard, City of Yu at least had a premonition. Even though it was only half a day of premonition, it seemed to be enough. On the city walls, the general of the defending army was an old general of the Iha country named Man Sun. It was said that he was the distant nephew of Marquis Man Ning, but there was no way to verify this. Man Sun was skilled in leading troops, and he had a great reputation in the Iha country. People called him General Sun. It was precisely because of this that Xiang Yu felt at ease leaving such an important city like City of Yu in his hands. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.